Welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I am your host, Microphone Alchemist Bimbo Jimbo. With me tonight, Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd.
Let's talk Marvel movies tonight.
Yeah, it's not what we're going to be doing, although we might dabble. We might just a little dabble of comparison there.
I don't read the script. I just say what I want to do at the beginning of the show and hope that it works.
Well, we'll see how that works out for you. Chief Science Officer from Star Labs, Mark Trex.
Here for DC movies. Marvel movies can go to hell. Not what we're here for.
Time will tell who will get their way. Hall of Fame cyber athlete Jonathan Craig.
Jeff, you got a Shadows of Brimstone episode all to yourself, and
not enough.
You got an X-Men episode. I think you're good.
It's very greedy.
I want to talk
X-Men,
Winter Soldier.
I also would like to talk Winter Soldier. Professor from the School for Gifted Youngsters, Chris Davis.
If I get an episode, I want Phantom and Phantom only.
You're not getting an episode, dude. Get out of here.
Davis said he wanted to do another Brimstone episode. All right, Davis.
I mean, proving that maybe Davis isn't the X-Men fan that we all thought. Wouldn't you say that X-Men episode is one of yours? Professor from the School for Gifted Youngsters?
Well, when it comes around to me again, because it's, we're going to be doing this forever.
Like when you picked, in the original run, when you picked Ravenous for one of our horror movie nights, and it was awful.
And it was one of our most listened to shows.
No, it was not. It absolutely was not, and I debated not even releasing it at all.
Guy Pearce, though.
It's a fantastic movie.
I mean, it's Guy Pearce.
Absolutely not.
David
but welcome
Arquette.
back to the show, everybody. I want to catch up with y'all. Jeff, you've been dipping your toe into the streaming world and also the world of the samurai with Ghosts of Tsushima. What did you think of the game? Like, I'm so jealous because I need to get this game. Samurais are up both of our alleys, so this thing looks like it's made for me. What are your early returns on this game?
Dude, I am absolutely obsessed with this game and in love with it. It's very much like a Red Dead Redemption 2 as far as just the size and scope of the game, as far as just the open world and everything like that. But it's a much more like focused story, and it's a very different character. Where I wouldn't say the growth is the same. It's more about just becoming more of an independent hero. But Jin is, he's like lawful good all the way through. Obviously, he's a samurai.
Yeah, so he's not like
I said during the stream last night that James is going to think that he is Jin, but he most certainly is not.
He's the
when I
uncle
first
that Jin kills in the first.
No Batman. There's no Batman the animated series quote that was more James Kincaid and than when he was yelling at that ninja. I'd rather be a samurai. I was like, yeah. But so he's not like a Ronin or anything.
No. He's not a Ronin. He's a lord of a particular family. I don't want to get too much into it because the story is really thick right in the beginning of it. The beginning of the game is incredibly cinematic, and that was like kind of the hard thing I think about the streaming is there were a lot of parts to just kind of have to sit and be quiet because I wanted to start one new so that John could check it out and just get the entire story. Because once you're in the middle of it, there would be too many things to kind of have to catch up on. But like it really is almost like a movie for the first 30 minutes. And just a couple of like quick time button mashing. But now I'm very much in the thick of it story wise, and I absolutely adore it. I like just going around and exploring things.
What do you
and helping the townsfolk?
Is it not as open world as Red Dead exactly, or?
No, I mean it is, but I do have like very specific missions, and I would say the story is a little tighter as far as what it is exactly that I'm going to do. There's going to be twists and turns, but like with Red Dead, other than playing the initial one and knowing that this was a prequel, you didn't know necessarily what was going to happen next. Like chapter 2 to chapter 3. I mean, all of that kind of threw me off when I was playing Red Dead the first time. I'll avoid spoilers because John right now is right in the middle of Red Dead, and I'm looking forward to it. We will be doing a Red Dead centric episode.
We will, and
upcoming.
I'll be streaming the rest of my playthrough as well. I finally got an Elgato, so that'll be fun, and we'll just alternate basically samurai streams. Yeah, samurai streams and Western streams until they meld together, and the Last Samurai really comes to life.
It
like Shadows of Brimstone. It all comes back. I tell you, that's our main episode, guys. We gotta push it.
We gotta push
the show.
Yeah. You guys have all been going to the Flying Frog Productions Gen Con panels, I'm sure, right? Now the Gen Con's in full swing.
Yes. Yep. Been doing that.
Comic-Con fatigue, now Gen Con.
Well, how did you feel about streaming it and sort of jumping into that side of things?
I mean, I had some technical difficulties and stuff like that, so it was a little uncomfortable. But I had John and Tim holding my hand. Justin, one of our old and favorite listeners, was there.
One of our P1ers, yeah.
Lucas was also there, which was cool. He messaged me on Facebook today. He couldn't comment or anything. He said, I was really frustrated. I wasn't able to comment, but then he and I were just talking about the game because he's further along than I am, but he's still pretty much right in the thick of it. So the two of us were just swapping samurai stories. Just
How's
a couple of Ronin. Oh, you'll love the lore. I tell you, there's one thing you're really going to like because it has to do with, and it's loosely based on historical events. It has to do when the Mongolians are invading this island of Japan.
Yeah.
And it's the samurai trying to push them back. One of the things that you do is every time you're in a Mongolian camp, you can pick up like particular artifacts of theirs so that you can learn more about their culture.
Okay.
So that you can better combat them.
Mordor a little bit.
Actually, yeah, that's a good way to compare it because a lot of people have also been saying Assassin's Creed because there's a lot of the climbing stuff and everything like that, and a lot of the stealth kills. And I don't know, it just shows my age. I was like, this is very much like Prince of Persia from 2003.
I like it. I like it. Marco, I understand that you scored some pretty cool Malibu Comics swag online via the barter trade. What did you get your hands on?
Save it for Ultra Monthly.
Yes, we will actually cover this on the Ultra Monthly podcast, another side project Jeff and I do where we talk nothing but Ultraverse, the late and great Malibu Comics comic book property from the 90s. We have a segment in there called Ultra Bucks where I talk about my ever-expanding collection, but I actually got an item that is one of the grails. It's like one of the holy grails of the Ultraverse swag that I've been hunting for, and you can hear all about it on Ultra Monthly, but it's a Prime enamel pin for the visually
inclined.
Yeah. Prime enamel pin. Fantastic. Not much was made in the Ultraverse during those 3 years, but that particular gem, I love it. And so it just came in this week. It's like Christmas here at the Truex household again.
Oh, good for you, man. I know the feeling of finding a sweet, rare relic like that.
Yeah,
piece of antiquity.
Well, that's the thing, like,
yes.
Yeah, when you're definitely like diving into like dead universes and things like that, there's not much you can find, and there's no new content to go after.
Nothing dead about Ultra Monthly, though. Jump on now.
Ultra Monthly keeps it going.
Good boy.
That's right.
Nobel Prize, Otto. Nobel Prize.
Yeah. So check it out, Ultra Monthly.
That didn't end well for their relationship.
No, that is very cool that you found that. And this episode, we are going to be focusing on the DCEU, of course, the DC Extended Universe and their films, what they got right, what they didn't. But next week's episode, we are going to be talking Transformers, and the War for Cybertron trilogy has hit Netflix. Mark, you've experienced one episode so far. Early returns on that, sir.
It is fantastic. So not gonna lie, I'm trying to watch it with my daughter, and it's rated Y7. She's 3.5. I thought it would take, but it's too scary. Too scary for my 3-year-old.
It's too spooky for kids under 7.
It's definitely not Rescue Bots, which is very lighthearted. But it's definitely more my pace. It's pretty cool. It's a little dark. This take on Bumblebee is a little broodier, a little more angsty Bumblebee. Yeah,
it's more of a Rodimus Prime
lapdog. Yeah,
I've
there's
heard...
the Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus in there, him and Prime sharing some good scenes. Wheeljack seems to be a pretty prominent character right off the get-go. But the representation of Megatron and Starscream are top-notch.
Yes.
I'm really excited to see where it goes. But yeah, I think the first chapter, which is 6 episodes, just hopped onto Netflix recently. So I can't wait to binge the rest of it and talk it here.
Yeah, so that is teasing ahead to next week's episode of the Best Damn Nerd Show. But tonight we are going to be talking the DCEU. But we got a couple little news and notes that I want to go over first, and that is Keanu Reeves being rumored to get attached to Ghost Rider. I don't really want to see that happen to Keanu Reeves, to be honest with you. But Jeff, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm not really that big a fan of Ghost Rider. I think he's cool looking, but I don't know that much about him. The first Nick Cage movie was awful, but I mean, I don't know. In a Nick Cage way, it kind of works.
Yeah.
I never saw the second one. Yeah, I don't know. Davis mentioned something on Discord today where it's like, nah, just let him be John Constantine, and it's like I'd kind of be cool with that. But if they wanted to go in more like comic book accurate John Constantine, the DCEU, then yeah, let Keanu do something else. I don't know who really works as Ghost Rider though. It's just going to be a skull on fire. So does it even matter what actor you get? You know, it's all special effects.
Reedus.
Like that's how Ghost Rider worked as a comic book. Everybody I know who's a big Ghost Rider fan is like an artist. And so they love it for the color panels, they love it for the illustrations, all of that. Anybody else, I've never met anyone who's a Ghost Rider fan who wasn't artistically inclined.
Well, if it's like
I think that was kind of life in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's why he was I would never say he was successful, but like as far as like his tight group of fans, and there are people that are like really loyal to Ghost Rider, I think it's people that try to replicate the pictures and stuff, or just really enjoy that design.
Davis did supposedly see the sequel to Ghost Rider. He and I went to a midnight showing of the sequel to Ghost Rider to be, you know, funny and entertaining, and he promptly fell asleep. So I had to suffer in that one alone. But what do you think about Keanu and Ghost Rider, Davis?
I did eventually watch the sequel, which just wasn't with you. So
Spirit
it's
of
okay.
Vengeance.
We had a pact.
We did. And that failed, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did, miserably.
No, I mean, if for Ghost Rider, they could just do what they do with all the other superhero movies and barely have them show the full form superhero. So the actor might actually get some screen time. But, you know, I think Keanu Reeves is probably too old for Ghost Rider, especially if they want to get any sort of run out of the character. If they think it's, you know, a multiple movie deal, I think they should go with somebody else. And I'm okay with what Jeff said, like go with a more true to form Constantine. Like totally on board with that too. But if they get Keanu, I'm not going to be mad either in that role. So.
Yeah,
totally.
I could see why they would want Keanu for Ghost Rider. Keanu's definitely still in his sort of moment of, you know, resurgence. But Mark, what do you think?
He's in a moment.
I think what Jeff said about people that are artistically inclined enjoying Ghost Rider is fairly accurate. The rest of his story I could care less about, but the art's really cool. His toys were always great. The glow in the dark chains, all that. Yeah, I'm not really interested. And Keanu, flaming skull on a bike, isn't selling it for me. For some reason, I picture him as more of like a Namor kind of guy. I think he could pull it off.
Zac Efron.
I can see
great too.
I can
like
see
Zac
Keanu
Efron.
as
I love Zac.
I don't see him as Namor. Is he Namor?
No, he's not.
No, it's just someone that
That's
we cast.
conjecture and rumor.
Yeah.
The fact that they got Chase Crawford as the Deep, I mean, that's sort of what I was going for with my Zac Efron. So
yeah,
would have worked.
Yeah, I don't need a Keanu Ghost Rider. That being said, would I see it? Probably. I mean, come on, it's Keanu, and it's another superhero movie. I'm gonna watch it.
I can see him as like a grizzled badass biker dude, and just line it up with action scenes. Like it doesn't have to have like super deep story taken from comic books. Like just have him whoop a bunch of people's asses and call it a day. Like it'll be good movies. Like
I don't
John
think
Wick.
they can take a super deep. There's no source material with a super deep story.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say it might be better if they don't draw from the Ghost Rider.
Yeah, it's all visual. I feel
origin stuff
totally.
and actually come up with a story. But also, not every comic book superhero deserves their own standalone movie. You know, just like as comic creators had to find out, not every character they've created can sustain its own comic book.
No, it's true, but maybe it's just a framework for like a cool action movie. Like John Wick had like incredibly little story, but like very entertaining action movies.
Killed his dog.
Yeah, exactly. But this is just an interesting framework. Like there's an opportunity for cool special effects, an opportunity for like for car stunts. It checks a couple boxes, and it could just be like super entertaining, and they might not be necessarily trying to do what they're doing with like Batman movies or things in that world.
I think Keanu Reeves is too big for the role of Ghost Rider. I think that role is beneath him at this point. And Mark throws out Norman Reedus. Yeah, that's about
Norman
right.
Reedus.
Norman Reedus.
That's about right.
Yeah, if there's any celebrity rocking a bike, it's Norman Reedus. You got a whole show about it. On top
that
of
show
Walking
stinks
Dead.
now, though.
No, Ride with Norman Reedus.
Yeah, his motorcycle show.
Oh, that it sounds terrible.
Yeah,
well, you're not into motorcycles.
That's true. Is he good?
Norman
on it,
Reedus
Mark?
is great.
I don't dislike Norman Reedus.
Then why are you bad mouthing him?
He's great.
I'm not. I'm just saying he's
Come
about
on,
a
Deuces
Ghost
Wild.
Dude, we already have
Deuces Wild wearing a little leather jacket.
Yeah, we don't want the Norman Reedus fans.
Look, hey man, I was on board the if they killed Daryl, we riot kind of deal. In terms of characters that they created for the show, The Walking Dead, he's awesome, and the things that they've done with him. Although that show as a whole stinks now, not because of him, but Mark was pleased as punch at Comic-Con about it.
Not quite. The new one looks awful. World Beyond looks terrible.
Did we even talk about that?
Yeah,
No.
I think I thought Mark brought it up because how
Mark
else did
brought
I
it up.
find out about it?
I don't think Mark brought it up on the episode though.
Yeah, I probably
on
complained
our
about
live
it
show
at one point during the
Yeah.
live stream.
What is the World Beyond Walking Dead, Mark?
It's Walking Dead 10 years in the future of the initial outbreak, but a completely different set of characters, and it's like behind a wall of where like civilization has continued on and they've lived with it, but it's like a bunch of sheltered kids that are living a normal life, if you would. Think like Attack on Titan, right? The wall keeps out the baddies and people are comfortable
It's like The Village
in what they're doing. Sure. And so eventually it looks kind of CW teens like soapy a bit, where it's like, here's these kids and they're tired of being in the locked up world. They got to go out and explore.
We don't
want to
wear our mask.
Like Riverdale.
Yeah, Riverdale's fantastic. Though.
So it's right up your alley then.
Riverdale's fantastic.
No, it's not.
Give me Archie Andrews. You know what?
It hasn't been good in a long time.
If they wanted to do Afterlife with Archie as a show, I'm in. Afterlife with Archie was a great zombie comic with the Archie cast.
Now,
they
Mark,
should do a Halloween episode like that.
What is it about
it's like
this,
a dream.
They kinda
this
did.
World Beyond
cool.
Walking? What is it about this World Beyond Walking Dead show then that doesn't appeal to you? Because we do truck with the CW at times. We aren't necessarily fully opposed to teen angst. I think more so than not, we all enjoy Gossip Girl on this show.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a big CW guy. It has all my DC shows. But
we'll talk about that.
The great thing about Walking Dead is the character development and the story arcs of the people in the book. It's not necessarily the zombies. The zombies are decoration around it. And for us to come up with a new show that doesn't have any of them and to get me reinvested in some other new characters, I'm not invested.
So you don't want to invest in new characters.
A whole new show where it's like, look, it's the exact same thing, but it's not because it's all different people. Then like, why am I going to jump onto that?
Well, isn't that the same thing? Like Fear the Walking Dead was the
terrible.
Same. Yeah, it was
terrible show. It's awful. It's still on 6 seasons.
That's crazy. It's in 6 seasons.
There's a lot of channels out there. They need something to air.
Well, we are going to get into the DC extended universe on the other side. The good, the bad, maybe the ugly, where it's going from here. All that and more coming up on the Best Damn Nerd Show as we take a deep dive into DC coming up next. And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. Bimbo Jimbo here with Jeff Budd, Mark Truex, Jonathan Craig, and Professor Chris Davis. And we are going to jump in now to the DCEU and sort of just the state of things within their cinematic universe. I think they've been given kind of the short shrift in terms of, things going on in the film world. Everybody talks about the MCU. I will grant you it's a much catchier sort of roll off the tongue than the DCEU is necessarily. I think they've
but
run
it's
into,
extended.
Yes, they've run into sort of, I think, trying to differentiate themselves from the MCU while also trying to emulate the MCU. With mixed results. But I want to start with just sort of the birth of the DCEU, or what maybe should have been, and that was Green Lantern. In my estimation, I think was what they were trying to do was really start there. What did y'all like? What happened that went wrong with Green Lantern? Because there was some good stuff in it. Like and we'll talk about Aquaman a little bit later on, but like the things that Aquaman did really well like lean into its lore and what it is. Green Lantern at moments did that, but they couldn't fully commit to what it was, in my opinion. But Mark, what do you seem chomping at the bit to defend Green Lantern?
So I like Green Lantern. I think there are some great things done in it, like Oa and a lot of the Guardians and whatnot. I think Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan was great. A little snarkier than how I normally liked my Hal Jordan. I like kind of Silver Fox Hal Jordan, but this is who Hal Jordan has also become.
Don't you like snarky Nathan Fillion as Hal Jordan, though?
Yeah, and he's a snarky guy. But that came after Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds kind of created this new mold, and it's the same thing they did in the new 52 comic books.
I think Ryan Reynolds should just play every superhero, like in every comic book movie.
And just make it snarkier, so that way every superhero is just a snarky version of what once was a good character. And that's no besmirchment of Ryan Reynolds. He's a very good Deadpool. I do not think he was a good Hal Jordan. I really like Hal Jordan, and he didn't need to be in that. He created a new bad mold for the character that they, even though they threw that movie out, and the reason why I bring up Green Lantern is because it's ignored now. They threw out that new mold that they created. Why does Hal Jordan continue to have to be snarky?
Well, I feel like the reason it got thrown out, the things that set it back, was not necessarily his attitude, because Ryan Reynolds is gold on screen.
He's great, but not as
the
Hal Jordan.
Outfit. I don't think the suit came out with the glowing mask and all of that. I think it doesn't date well. It doesn't hold up. People look back on it and it looks cheap and just not great, and people laugh at it. And then 2 is Peter Skarsgård. I have a big head, and like
he did
doing stuff, and he had a really big.
And he was doing stuff.
But
I mean, it's an accurate description.
Kind of like
it appears to run on some sort of electricity.
Okay. Like he was okay. The Parallax was cool. I think Mark Strong
is a great
came in strong. He always does.
Awesome, just absolutely awesome. But I think Peter Skarsgård's portrayal was
about Blake
a little
Lively.
overdone. Yeah, Blake Lively. It was great. Her and Ryan Reynolds met, fell in love. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
I wanted Green Lantern to be a great movie. I like the Green Lantern character, specifically Hal Jordan. That's the Green Lantern that I grew up on. Very, very fond memories, certainly of the action figure with the the Silver Fox sideburns and everything like that. That's Green Lantern number one for me. I think that the things that it did well was when it was on Oa, when we're talking about the Lantern Corps, and when they were just like, dude, this is what we're doing. This is what Green Lantern is. But they tried to, I feel like, have it both ways, and the snarkiness and the silliness of it then sort of undermined. I feel like it got people laughing at all the other stuff too. But Jeff, what did you think about Green Lantern, and why didn't this sort of work to kick off the DC Extended Universe?
Like Mark, I love the movie. I thought it was a good Green Lantern movie.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, I think you guys already kind of hit the nail on the head with the things that worked and didn't work. All the stuff in Oa, and just the lore of the Green Lanterns, all of that was awesome. At the time, I thought his costume looked cool. Maybe it didn't age well, but I mean, what was that? Like,
I had no issue with it.
2000. I don't even know how old that is anymore. Yeah,
that's my lunchbox that I take to work every day. It's a Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern lunch pail, and so I see his face every day, just that green neon with like coming down the bridge of his nose.
Wear your mask, everybody.
But see, if that worked, I mean, he would look better now if they were still doing Green Lantern movies, So it's kind of hard to hold it against. I mean, I haven't always been happy with how Captain America's helmet has looked, but it's like the character works, the story. Well, he looks fucking stupid with it. I don't know why. He just does.
You don't like Chris Evans,
but I actually, and I don't even think Ryan Reynolds was the first one to do that snarky Hal Jordan. I think that's the whole reason Ryan Reynolds was cast, is they had already started writing Hal Jordan like that. I don't know when it started, but I don't like it. I feel that's more of like a Flash personality, and it works better that way.
Correct.
And now it seems like they flipped those two to a certain degree.
Yeah, it's very strange.
What were you gonna say, Mark?
Yeah, I feel like when that was first coming out, the movie, I feel like I remember Ryan Reynolds in an interview talking about how he would love to play the Flash before he was like cast into Green Lantern.
Because can
I
you
felt
imagine?
Like he brought that.
That would have been cool.
To the
See,
role.
and Ryan Reynolds as the Flash. If he wasn't doing Deadpool right now, I would rather have him as the Flash than Ezra Miller. And then I don't know if there would be too many shitheads on the Justice League though, with like Aquaman and everything like that. But I'm just imagining him talking shit to Superman about like who's the fastest and everything. Like one of my favorite episodes of the Superman animated show from the 90s was the Flash cameo where the two of them were doing that race for charity where they were racing around the world. And the Flash was a complete obnoxious ass in that entire episode. But it worked because Superman's not, you know, and I don't know. I feel it clicked better that way. But as far as the Green Lantern stuff, I know people hated that like race car track thing that he did. But I was like, man, that's straight out of like the comic books. He does giant shit like that all the time. And then we already talked about Mark Strong. I loved that they just set it up. Sinestro, I mean, they did the after credit or like the during the credit scene where he grabs the Yellow Lantern ring. But it's like, we're not even going to have Sinestro do anything against Hal in the first movie. I was like, that's awesome. Like the next one would have been amazing, I think. Yeah. But what can you do? I also liked him training him like with the swords and everything like that. It's like one sword. It's like how human.
Yeah, all that stuff worked. And again, you know, Mark Strong, he pretty much nails every role that he takes.
Does no wrong, man.
Yeah, he's tremendous, and I was very excited. Even with its flaws, I didn't think that this movie needed to be thrown out. I guess so that's. I don't understand why they just needed to completely ignore it and then go in this different direction, because you have an A-list actor attached to this, you know, very important role within the Justice League and the DC universe. I don't know what the contract situation was.
Taking a step back from Green Lantern, like if you think about kind of the trajectory of all this stuff, and a lot of it is kind of in line with like when we started our podcast in 2008, 2009, like. Do you guys remember watching I Am Legend and seeing the billboard, the Superman versus Batman billboard?
Yeah.
And this was at a time where, like, you know, we had just seen...
I'd forgotten about that.
We had just seen the first Nolan Batman movie. No, Dark Knight I don't even think was out yet.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then Dark Knight came out, and then we're all talking about the Superman versus Batman thing, and it's like... That's the time when you launch the DC Distended Universe. You don't launch it with Green Lantern. Like you have these amazing Batman movies, now make some amazing Superman movies, and then you have all these other characters, these other cast of characters that you can introduce, but you understand the tone of the storytelling. Instead, by waiting and, you know, launching it with Green Lantern, it feels like they're making these movies just looking over at Marvel the whole time, and then because they're watching Marvel, they're like drifting, and then they're trying to course correct, and then they're kind of all over the place with their tone and how they're telling the stories. And I know we're talking about Marvel a lot. This is a DC episode.
Damn right.
But there are going to be those comparisons.
There's going to be the comparisons.
This is what I wanted.
Hopefully none of you at home have committed to like a drinking game, because you're going to be dead.
I couldn't decide on who should get their way.
Yeah. But again, I think if, you know, obviously Nolan wasn't going to do Batman movies forever, right? But like someone could have
Batman Forever.
Yeah, someone could.
That's a good one.
Someone could have picked up on it the way like, Todd Phillips has picked up on doing a Joker movie. Like they could have extended that line. They could have been in lockstep with their biggest competitor, who shall not be named. And then they could have introduced some of these other characters,
Malibu,
and still given them good standalone stories, but have like the main story intact, as opposed to like launching it with these other characters who are not as prominent in the DC universe, and then having to go back and try to like course correct with like a Batman and a Superman and all these other things. And it's like, I don't know.
I think you make some valid points,
feels strange.
And I want to circle back to a couple of them, but Davis looked like you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, it was an odd start, honestly, because it was a valid effort. Like I'm not a huge fan of that movie, to be honest with you. So
it's fine.
Hang up on this guy.
But I will say, like, I loved how they set up Sinestro, and that might have been it. I liked Oa. I didn't like Ryan Reynolds. Blake Lively was flat. I thought Reynolds
she is not
weird.
Flat.
Well.
The Earth is though.
But
for that body fat percentage.
They went with the hardest character, I feel like, out of the Justice League first, and it
Plastic
just seemed
Man.
like it seemed like a very odd choice for them because, like,
Tello?
even in their competitors' realm, they didn't bring out like this is like doing Doctor Strange first, in my eyes.
No,
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
because
I wouldn't say
I
it's.
You
see
were
the
dealing
comparison
with
that you're,
so
that you're
much.
making. Yeah, you definitely are. You're asking a lot, I think, of your audience in terms of the stuff that's off Earth and everything like that.
I was thinking,
but that's
Thor
also that. But
more
that's
than-
also the part
Yeah.
that they did the best. I
They
do
did.
think that there is a little bit of a comparison to choosing to do this character with, say, Iron Man. I think Green Lantern is a more A-list DC character than Iron Man was when he got his movie. You know, like there's no understating how much Robert Downey Jr. and the MCU has done for Iron Man stock in the comic books and what he means to Marvel. Not that he was a throwaway character, but it certainly has shot through the roof. But Green Lantern has really been, all the iterations of him, a very important character in the DC universe. So I definitely see more comparisons, there as opposed to Doctor Strange. There is a buy-in factor, but that stuff that they asked of the audience is actually what they did well in the movie, I feel.
They did do that well, but I think it's starting a little too hot. And I like whoever said Thor. I think that's probably a better
Jahns
comparison
said.
than the Strange. Yeah. But it's starting you're coming out hot off the presses, and I think you probably should have went elsewhere. And I think that's part of the reason why it didn't work.
Yeah, John said it first. DC actually has a couple of guys that you have to start your series with. It's either Superman or it's Batman. And you could kind of flip a coin and you could go either way with them as far as how you want to do it. Starting with Batman's kind of cool because you just have like a very grounded DC world.
Yep.
And then you introduce all the superpowered stuff and Batman's reacting to it the same way we are. You know?
Yes.
And then at the same time, you can always start it with Superman because it's fucking Superman. So I mean,
he's
that's
the
it.
name on the marquee for
But
sure.
but at the same time with Marvel doesn't really have those guys. I mean, Spider-Man's a big deal, but he's not like the focus of the Marvel universe. I mean, he's on his own. He does his own thing.
Good point, yeah.
I mean, and he's not a factor in the MCU right now at all. And it's like, what, Captain America? It's like, it doesn't have to revolve around him. That would be kind of weird. I like the way they did Captain America in the MCU. It's like he took place before a lot of stuff, but he's not the one who got everything going. So, I mean, yeah, DC has those guys. Marvel doesn't really, and everybody else just has to kind of fall in line.
I think hearing you talking it out, it sounds like what they should have done is started with Superman because they were sort of a victim of bad timing on the Batman front. Because we were in the midst of, this Nolan trilogy of Batman movies that I guess unfortunately never had a chance of being connected to this new DC world that they were doing. I know we all wanted
ridiculous.
If Nolan and Christian Bale were down though after Dark Knight, you decide to do something like if you throw out whatever the third one is even called, I don't remember.
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises, and you do something that actually starts introducing like the supernatural. Imagine that Batman and the world he grew up in, and everything we had seen him do. And then all of a sudden, where this alien come from, and where this Atlantis exists.
Maybe that's what brings
Amazons.
him back from his little cafe date with Catwoman. And
well, I'm saying you don't even go that route because my whole thing is the third Batman movie. It really, I mean, they break him. It's like his bones are broken down. It's like he can't be Batman forever. But if you don't do that. Don't make me laugh for the Batman.
Every time I hear Batman,
but I was like, if you don't do that though, if you do the third movie differently, you can have that Batman persist. I wish Christian Bale and Nolan would have been down for that. I think that would have been really cool. And I don't know if that was ever even on the table. Honestly,
I don't want to get too far off track, but I do want to build on what Jeff is saying here. Like, you don't necessarily have to have Nolan and Bale continuing the Batman franchise from that point on. Like,
that's true too.
You can get a new actor, you can get a new director, you can shift the tone a little bit if you feel like to be competitive you have to get a little less gritty with it, but you still can have that be that's the backstory leading us into the Justice League assembling, and maybe we can,
absolutely.
and maybe I'm conflating timelines, but maybe in the next trilogy after that initial Nolan trilogy, that's when you start introducing like Robin, Nightwing, and start like adding some complexity to Batman while introducing some of these supernatural elements to it.
Yeah, and then more supernatural Batman enemies like a Clayface or something like that, or you bring back Ra's al Ghul and there are Lazarus pits.
I want to let Mark jump in here.
I think that's an important thing to mention from Dawn of Justice, which is where they did cross paths with Superman and Batman. Is it showed the origin of rather Bruce Wayne discovering there's Supermen on Earth and powers breaking into his world, because he's already been Batman at that point in the story, right? And all the stuff happening and him running through Gotham and everything getting torn apart. And so that kind of way they incorporated folding Batman into Superman's world still could have been adapted into the Nolan universe and still could have been technically tied to it, because even the tones of what Nolan did and what Snyder was doing isn't dramatically far off from each other. They both have a little more grit to them than say what we see in other cinematic
I just think that Nolan's stories were a little bit more focused and obviously better done.
Yeah, it's better executed and there's more finesse, but
the thing that I was saying though, the thing that I was saying though, in terms of maybe just being bad timing to start with Batman, is you're just finishing this trilogy. I understand why DC doesn't want to like take us immediately on that ride again in terms of like Batman fatigue. Like we just got this sort of, just very well reviewed trilogy. Everybody loved the Christian Bale Batman series and everything like that. To the idea of resetting it right off the bat to kick off this new universe, I maybe you go with Superman there, but you are right. You should go with one of the two. I think the appetite was there, for Superman before Green Lantern. Obviously, they do try and do that with Man of Steel, but it was, to Mark's point, now you have the Superman character that tonally is like the Batman movie we just got, and a lot of people rejected that tonally for Superman. So you're starting out your bright and shiny character as this very dour one, and I think that was a misstep as well. I think, when we say why you want to start with Batman or Superman, because you're playing the hits. And even though they did Man of Steel, they didn't play the hits about what makes Superman, in my opinion. And so they sort of missed the mark a little bit there. And we've talked about this before. Henry Cavill, very well cast. It's just the characterization he was given wasn't much to work with, I think, to set them up for success there. But I just think if you had to do it over again, find some way to, I don't know, like, could you imagine the Christian Bale Batman in this DC universe? Like, I feel like we would be having a very different discussion today about it, and I don't think that DC would really be as much in the backseat cinematically to Marvel as they kind of are perceived as right now. Marco?
I don't know, man. I like Man of Steel. I'm just going to jump over what you're saying. I like Man of Steel. I thought it was great to get a new interpretation of it. I think having a Superman and a Clark Kent, rather, that's a little dour, if you would, and reserved because he's the only person of his kind and he can't relate to people on Earth, and to be more of a grounded series instead of this happy-go-lucky kind of guy, it's fine. It's okay. Let's take a stab at this, especially coming off of the Nolan stuff, which kind of had set up this tone and expectation in DC movies. Like, I remember when the Man of Steel trailer came out, I would get chills and I would feel like a lump welling up in my throat.
Because they were selling a different story than we got.
Absolutely. You Are My Son. Yeah. It was a great trailer, but they didn't. They absolutely did not give us that trailer in movie form. We got a very unhappy, unlikable Superman, and that's not what we should be given.
He wasn't
unlikable. I mean, let's not exaggerate it too much. He's still likable, but he's very much alien at times, I would say. I think is kind of the problem.
Yeah, he had to say that his Clark Kent persona of the.
How can you say that though? He is Clark Kent. He was raised by Ma and Pa Kent. That is who he is. He's Clark Kent before he's Kal-El. No, don't give me the stupid Kill Bill speech. He is Clark Kent.
It's the mask.
No, you're an asshole. No, he is Clark Kent. He had to
find glasses to become Clark Kent.
But that's still who he is, though. He even says that in Man of Steel, that he's about as American as anybody. Because he was raised in Kansas. Your own Superman that you're touting so much disagrees with what you just said about him.
But he's more himself when he is Superman. And that's the evolution of Superman.
See, I think the beauty of Superman is that he's all of those things at all times. He wouldn't be able to defend the Earth the way that he does if he wasn't a part of it, if he didn't care about it.
If he didn't feel like he was one of us.
He's not just like this robot sentry that looks after us like some distant like the power differential. That's the fun thing about him is his human relationships. I mean, they're as deep as the rest of ours. There's a reason why the entire supporting cast have had their own comic books. You can buy Jimmy Olsen comic books. You can buy Lois Lane comic books. You can't do that for other characters in comic books.
That is.
Do you have a Jarvis comic book, or was he just Iron Man's butler and then the Avengers butler? Now he's just a voice inside Iron Man's suit.
Yeah. Mark, do you at least see the sort of, how he was portrayed in Justice League in that sort of lighter tone, and just how well Henry Cavill did with that aspect of Superman?
And which is what he was always pushing for behind the scenes.
Don't get me wrong, I like it. And I feel like that became the evolution of this character in this cinematic sitting. Right, with the movies presented us and the character arcs and development. He's this guy in the beginning who's kind of an awkward or recluse spiritually with himself because he's afraid of showing himself to the world. And that's the evolution of him in Man of Steel, is he ends up outing himself. And then in Dawn of Justice, it's him starting to come to terms with the world coming in on him after discovering who he is, ultimately to his demise. And then when he comes back around in Justice League, he has kind of a renewed belief in it, because now he's gone through some of those trials of being exposed already to the ultimate sacrifice that it was. And now he can kind of be more, say, relaxed in his skin and ready to roll with it. And finally having peers that are on his level be on his side as well, which he didn't really have in Man of Steel. The first people he came across that were actually on his level were his enemy. Same thing when you come to Dawn of Justice. They were his enemies. And so for him to finally have these comrades is a big boost to his self-esteem, as, again, that kind of awkward guy who couldn't trust to expose himself to people, that you finally get that payoff in Justice League.
I think the way you're describing it is good. I just don't think it was executed to that degree. And I mean, that I blame Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I agree with look, the way Mark is laying it out, and I have to give Mark a lot of credit with this beyond Superman and beyond the DCEU, but Mark, you have a terrific perspective in your willingness to adapt to other interpretations of characters. It like as I forgot how you put it exactly, but it's like when they change.
Show me something new.
Well, not even that.
No,
like I sort of reject that aspect of it, because I don't think you need to see something new. That's stupid. But your ability to be willing to open up to, as the medium changes, that maybe they do make changes to characters. Not that they have to, but that you, even though, because look, we bust your balls, but you love Superman. And so you being willing to sort of go on that ride, it should be commended to a certain extent, but I reject the mantra of show me something new because when you have the DC cinematic universe and they tried Green Lantern and it was kind of a failure, even though I still think they should have continued on with it. Now they feel behind the 8 ball. So we're going to do Superman, but we're going to give you, Batman was popular. So we're going to give you like Batman type Superman, darker and stuff like that. Just give me actual Superman. And I think I just think people would have reacted a lot better to it.
So I again, I like this take of it, and it's not necessarily a new version of Superman. I mean, there's kind of this same outlook in the Earth 1 series that was out there, which is really good comic. Check it out. The biggest misses with the Superman mythos in Man of Steel and the Snyderverse, in my opinion, I remember when this came out, this was like a big sticking point that kind of was in my head. But I got over it, was the death of Pa Kent, the fact that he got sucked up in a tornado. But again, that plays into the narrative of this guy that has to hide who he is and be in his shell, versus I always enjoyed the Pa death of having the heart attack, because you have this guy with all these awesome powers and
couldn't save him.
About
Can't do
but
anything.
Have you heard of the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Yeah. So as far as like Man of Steel, like misses go and things like that, that's a major one for me. But again, suspend the belief, take a new spin on it. I'm open to a new interpretation and tell a story.
Well,
make it provocative and engrossing. And
let's keep it with Man of Steel, because I don't think Man of Steel was a horrible movie. I just think that
not.
as we're looking at the DC cinematic universe or extended universe, whatever, Just call it the DC Cinematic Universe. DC, come on.
But I don't know, 2 C's in a row. It's weird.
Yeah. But in terms of the issues that we have sort of trying to set up at the larger level, there were some good things in Man of Steel that I really liked. And it does come down to Kevin Costner as Pa Kent and Russell Crowe as Jor-El. I thought were both excellent, and I thought, thinking back to when I first saw Man of Steel, how they were on Krypton and everything, that was great. I thought all that really, really worked well. What are some of your guys' takeaways from Man of Steel, Mr. Davis?
I will say I really enjoyed General Zod in that movie. I liked I forget the actor's name, but I like
Michael Shannon.
Thank you.
Great Zod.
Yeah, no, he was a great Zod. I really liked almost all the actors. I think I can't really think of one I didn't, and I enjoyed the story. And this is going to be reoccurring through these DC movies. I don't have much stake in them when it comes to reading the comics on them, so I probably enjoyed these movies a lot more than a comic book reader for most of the time.
This is where Mark is winning me over, though, because Mark is the true DC fan, and he's saying that these movies are all right. And meanwhile, the 3 Marvel nerds on this panel are yeah, Green Lantern. Hold on. Let me speak. The Marvel idiots on this
huge
panel,
Batman fans.
The Marvel morons in this panel are Green Lantern. Dark Knight was great. It was very gritty. Green Lantern was stupid. It was too campy. And then all of a sudden we get to Man of Steel and they're like, it was too gritty. We need campy. And it's wait a minute. What the hell do you guys want? You just want this to be a Marvel movie. You want this to be Marvel superheroes.
It's a little bit of a mischaracterization. and look,
James likes to go to laugh.
I liked Green Lantern.
I was saying this before the show, before we were recording, but Mark was talking about how it's it's going to be pile on Mark time or whatever. And to be honest with you, I think I've actually been pretty fair to DC and more hypercritical of Marvel. Honestly, look, Justice League in the Twitterverse and whatever you want to call it was pile on and shit on Justice League. And here I stand to defend the movie. I thought it was good. I didn't need the Snyder Cut. I enjoyed myself in Justice League for all the things that it was, even with a throwaway villain, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But I actually think that I'm pretty fair with DC. I'm probably more harsh to the certainly the recent MCU. MCU might have started at this peak, but it is by God, they've lost the art. But be that as it may, Man of Steel, Jeff, weigh in on what you liked, what maybe you didn't like.
I mean, I liked Henry Cavill as Superman a lot. I like his look, and there are times when I think he's acting very much like Superman. I liked all the Kryptonians. I liked the planet Krypton before it was destroyed. I liked Jor-El a lot. Pa Kent, I liked most of what he did, except for when he was telling Superman not to help people.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
yeah. Should I just let him die? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's basically it. I didn't like that Lois Lane always knows who he is, and I didn't like that Clark Kent really wasn't his own character at all. He really is just kind of Superman. And then I don't know, they just make him a reporter at the end. His justification for it with the voiceover made sense. I just wish they had done that earlier in the movie, and so he was already in Metropolis at the time.
I remember when we did the movie review, I thought one of the big issues everybody had was the complete disregard of trying to save human life during the fights.
Well, that is a big problem, especially because if you compare it to the Avengers fight, and there were all those memes going on at the time where it was Superman and Iron Man arguing with each other. It's true. It just seemed like it was a lot of disaster porn, and that's a big Zack Snyder thing. And yeah, it was just watching buildings in Metropolis crash down. And then they ended up making it work as a plot point with Batman being disgusted with that when he's watching Batman in Batman v Superman. And it's I can't allow a guy with this sort of power and this recklessness to just be going wild. I've got to, rein him in, keep him in control. But I mean, that was definitely an afterthought and something that they tried to patch it up with. And then just they had those throwaway lines of Batman versus Superman when they were fighting Doomsday. And it's oh, that island is uninhabited. And it's you guys are only saying that because of what happened last time. We know what's up. But he was fighting them in Smallville with his punches where he sends you miles away. That would already knock you into farmland. He should have just fought them there. And they really should have had, they ended up doing it in Batman versus Superman anyway, but they should have had it where Kryptonite was made with the crypto forming that those
Mm-hmm.
those machines were doing, which would explain why all of the Kryptonian colonists on different planets died out, because they were accidentally creating kryptonite and then, being poisoned.
I like that. Mark, you wanted
Yeah.
to jump in.
Just your note about the Lois Lane knowing that he was Superman and the stranger helping people. I actually enjoyed that because Lois Lane is really smart. She is a good investigative journalist, and there's no reason that Superman, for all those years just wearing like some glasses, is fooling everyone, especially like this reporter that interacts with him. So I did like that they kind of, in a way, got ahead of it in this universe where it's like, here's this really smart lady, and she found that out and outed him, but at the same time she doesn't have to reveal it.
I
She's letting
totally
him do the good.
Yeah, I totally get that, and it does make sense. But then it also kind of forces them in a relationship too soon. And it's not about him wearing the glasses; it's about his mannerisms and how he, carries himself. It all has to do with perception, which is a very real thing. And people would overlook a Clark Kent. I thought Christopher Reeve was really good at doing a Clark Kent versus how he was as Superman. And let's give credit where credit's due. Brandon Routh was also really good at doing the two different characters, where Clark Kent and Superman, the same people are kind of interacting with both characters. But the fact that he carries himself a certain way when he is dressed as Clark Kent, I like that. I like the dichotomy of it. And at a certain point, we have to just buy into it, because otherwise a lot of people would know that Superman is Clark Kent. And it's like Lex Luthor. If Lex Luthor is as smart as he is, shouldn't he have known the identity of everybody? I mean, Batman wears a full mask. People should be able to realize that it's billionaire Bruce Wayne who's Batman. But it's like, it's suspension of disbelief. I'm not going to let all his smart villains just know that he's Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yeah, I want to jump back to the wanton destruction of Metropolis and everything like that.
It was awesome.
One, it was not. It's not pleasing.
Shut
at
up,
all.
Snyder.
It's exactly. Thank you. Or Michael Bay. It's not. It's not pleasing to me, at least as a viewer, to watch.
Save it for your Transformers episode.
I don't get it. Oh God, I even forgot about the Bayformers.
How? That is Transformers.
Not to me. I don't get anything out of just the wanton destruction action scenes that were in Man of Steel. They weren't really doing it for me. And I guess the point you were making about the civilians and the destruction and everybody that got killed and it being a sort of a throw on into the next movie it comes back to, again, we're not getting the sort of Paragon Superman that we need, which was, why can't we have a few scenes in that movie of him actually saving people or diverting some of the destruction away from that? That's who Superman is intrinsically. It keeps coming back to the fact that I wanted in that movie, in that first one, show me him stopping some bank robbers and bending some steel bars, rescuing a cat out of a tree, and then zooming off to do the next thing. Give me Superman.
And that's how you handicap him in a fight too, because he's also
kind of
trying to rescue everybody at the same time. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Sean, sorry.
And this is where the comparisons between the distended universe and the MCU are so off, because even though it might be self-proclaimed by DC at this point, I think that they found themselves in this position where they were like, oh shit, we're doing this, we're doing a MCU, we're doing our own version of this. Whereas you have tons and tons of Superman material where he is this paragon, where he is all the things that you guys like, and all this media in DC's history. It's okay to do a series where he's represented differently and he has a different take. It's a problem if you're trying to make this one standalone decade of films that all tie together and then reinvent them in the next decade and make sure that they're different from the decade before. I don't think DC was prepared to do that the way Marvel was. And I think that's why it's troublesome. But I do think it's okay to represent the character differently if 100%. If that's not what you're trying to do. Like I said, it's a time capsule. They were putting some of these out before we were all in on this concept of these, universes per se.
I think you hit on something that maybe is at the core of why maybe Jeff and I don't truck with the portrayal of Superman, is that when it's fine to do a different portrayal, like, Red Sun's a very cool, like, spin-off Elseworlds type story and stuff like that, where what if Superman was born in Soviet Russia, or landed in Soviet Russia, rather.
There.
But the issue is that when you get these major motion pictures, and this becomes sort of the new canon or the new, like, main normal, it becomes the story of record cinematically. And when you're sort of churning this character so drastically, that's where I kind of take issue. Yeah, explore a different take on the character someplace else, I guess would be my take on it.
I just disagree, dude. Like, it doesn't erase the fact that you have old Superman movies where he is exactly what you're hoping for.
Yeah, but this is an exciting new venture where we could finally, connect everything, and we're going to get kind of a lame Superman.
And just do it again?
One of the beauties with the DC universe is that it is a multiverse, and it allows all these things that have happened to still have happened. It's not rewriting history. That still exists, and there's possibilities for things to cross paths and so forth. Like, they're talking about doing Flashpoint.
We're gonna get into
Crisis,
that.
all these different things.
We're gonna get into that later on in the show, but I guess those are things that are being added on now. That haven't happened yet.
It's always been around. The multiverse has been around for this entire time, so you can still have those movies.
But there was still only one set of movies, though. Yeah, but I don't want to have to watch a 1978 film to get the Superman that I want. I should be able to get a Superman movie in my lifetime.
I guess that's where the excitement
you didn't like
comes
Superman
in.
Returns?
That was just a cheap continuation of those, and it's still not the same. Brandon Routh, as much as I do like him, I mean, he is the inferior Superman out of all these guys.
I want to kick a question around, and we can certainly touch on other things about Man of Steel. But so we get Man of Steel, and then we go into Dawn of Justice. We'll talk about that movie in a moment. But on a bigger level, what do you guys think about DC's sort of decision to part ways with how the MCU did it and not give, most characters their own standalone movie before coming together with the Avengers? I understand that again, it's running into that sort of wanting to do this shared universe without having to parrot everything that they've just seen on the other side. What did you sort of make of that process? Did it work? Would you have liked to have seen solo films first? Do you think that would have helped, even though people would have called, oh, you're just copying the MCU or whatever? But do you think it would have helped or not? Jeff, we'll start with you.
I mean, I think it works for me because I'm a comic book fan, so I know all these characters. I don't need to see backstories for them. I mean, they could have just made a Justice League movie and I would have been cool with it. But
yeah,
like for the casual viewer, I don't think it works, honestly. And I mean, it's hard. Some characters I feel definitely need their own movie, and then others don't. Like, I don't think Cyborg needs his own movie, and he works in a team capacity. I don't even remember ever reading a comic book about Cyborg on his own. I know him from the Teen Titans, and then I know him from the Justice League. Wonder Woman, I mean, she was cool in Batman versus Superman, so it's like, does that forgive it? Or would it have been better to get a Wonder Woman movie first? I don't know. I probably would have rather had a Wonder Woman movie first, honestly.
Yeah. Davis, what do you feel about that?
I feel like they left out, they should have hit on, I would have liked a Flash standalone movie, and I feel like they didn't do that because they already had a TV series, even though they're not going off that. Wonder Woman I would have probably liked before Dawn of Justice, because we all saw how, that first movie went really well. It was a good movie. Green, they haven't even brought back Green Lantern yet, but I agree with Jeff. I don't think they need a Cyborg movie, and I could have probably held off on Aquaman too before Justice League. I don't think that was they did it after.
Yeah, it came after.
It did come out after. Yeah, maybe just not do that at all then.
Wow.
That turned out to be a good one. Maybe not all of us think so. Okay.
Yeah. Marco, what do you think about in terms of what they tried to do with not introducing everybody in their own movies and stuff? Because
I feel like you Marvel movie viewers over here can't be pleased because you just said how these DC movies have to start with a Superman. You can't just go with any character. You have to start with a Superman and Batman. So they did just that. They gave us Man of Steel as the heart thread that takes us through this new movie universe. The next movie introduced Batman and Wonder Woman into the fold. And then the next movie brought in the rest of the cast into the fold, and you start getting the splintering off movies diving further into those characters. Because also, just as Jeff said, being a fan of comics, you know these characters, so you'd like to just see them. You could jump into these teams. For the more casual viewer, if you would, they're getting introduced to them along the way for a joined universe.
I'll tell you what I would have liked to have seen, if they weren't going to do solo films, and I think there are ways that DC certainly could have done it, and obviously they didn't give everybody a solo film, but I think they could have done some more viral marketing about each character. And I think I've talked to you about this with you guys before too, but if they wanted to release like little YouTube vignettes or social media vignettes to release, or TV spots about like specific members of the Justice League to sort of build up the hype train, yes, you would have to produce them and create them, but I think that would have been such a neat, like, even if it's like you're looking at, Bruce Wayne's files of each character in the Batcave and you're getting like a little bio of them, then I feel like it would help the casual viewer that doesn't necessarily know who they are, and it's going to help sort of guerrilla market and hype up your Justice League film. Like, oh, okay, so these are.
Didn't we get that in Batman versus Superman?
What?
Didn't we get that in Batman versus Superman? They did that and they put it in a movie.
No, but I'm talking about
there's probably
in terms
DVD
of like,
extras of more,
like more stuff like that, giving more background, more depth, because it was kind of quick, and I'm talking about like more of that to sort of give people buy-in.
I don't know. That shit's kind of dicey, honestly.
I mean, I
feel what's on the silver screen is what actually matters, and everything else. Because okay, what if you're just watching these movies years later? And it's like that stuff kind of gets lost.
Yeah,
did you ever watch any of the Battlestar Galactica like web series and stuff like that? It's like I sure as hell didn't, but it's like that's where like Hoshi was like a main character.
But I don't think we lose anything by not having that necessarily.
But also, I would say all the standalone solo adventures that happened subsequent these Dawn of Justice and Justice League films have done great. Wonder Woman and Aquaman have done fantastic, and those are coming off of the line of spreading out from these initial movies. So we, in reality, don't need those extra vignettes to get you primed into it, because the proof is in the pudding right here. Those were smash successes for DC.
Yeah, and I do think that they were both certainly had their high points in the movies as well. And I think. Let's get into Dawn of Justice and what we thought about that in the introduction of Batman. And look, I am willing to once again eat crow for my reaction to Ben Affleck when he was cast as Batman. I was not on board. I was wrong. I think he was a good Batman and a good Bruce Wayne. I think it's kind of a shame if he doesn't come back to the role. I know that there are efforts being made to bring him back and everything like that. But I do think that was a reaction that was had by a lot of people. So you're reintroducing one of your marquee characters, and it was this sort of, at the time, very polarizing casting decision that, I think that they had an uphill battle with that to sort of overcome. And I think they did it. I think he did, again, very well. I wasn't as sort of torn up about the decision to have him kill people in the movies. Like, would I have preferred him not to? Sure, but it didn't ruin the experience for me. Like, so many people were bent out of shape about that. But what did you think of Dawn of Justice, Davis?
Really, I mean, honestly, all I can think of is the Martha line, and it's really tainted that movie for me. Having their fight stop just because he says his mom's name because they share their mom's name.
Their mothers share the same name, yeah.
It is really hard to get past that for me. But outside of that, I wasn't even a big fan of the movie to begin with. It didn't do a ton for me. I didn't like the whole tone.
There were no X-Men in it. Like,
there's no X-Men.
John.
But no, it wasn't. I didn't care if Batman killed people.
Holding a Two-Face action figure.
Yeah, I know. With your Captain America shield behind you.
I like both.
I liked Affleck. I liked Wonder Woman, but it was just.
Were you on board with the Batfleck casting at first?
It was at first. I thought it was, if I remember right, I was just in the wait and see camp. I like him, but he also came off as a bit older, so I was wondering how they were going to do that.
And they made him older.
Yeah, and he was good. So, but
I do think he was very good, and I think he got a bad rap because of maybe some of the failings of Dawn of Justice, but I enjoyed him.
It was more so the writing and just where the story kind of just went in general wasn't very great.
And shitty Lex Luthor.
Shitty Lex Luthor,
my God.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. that was a miscast for sure.
It was a big miss.
And that was weirdly enough the one I wasn't as concerned about that casting as I should have been when it happened. I know I wasn't stoked about it, but I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it turned out to be. Mark, are you on board with Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor?
Come on, man.
He's a little too neurotic. I like the very strong and stern Lex Luthor. Like I think
gotta get Kevin Spacey in there.
God, Kevin Spacey. He did great. I think the representation that came out of Smallville, Michael Rosenberg, I think. Forget his
Rosenbaum.
name.
Rosenbaum. I think so.
Was awesome. I always thought he should get more work. I mean, Sorority Boys didn't give him enough justice.
He does a lot of voice acting.
Yeah, and so those are the Lex Luthors I really enjoy. I think the kind of weird, peevy, yeah. It's not the Lex I would typically go for, because you want that strong guy that's also charismatic, but draws people, not just kind of like annoys them. And
go on,
Billy Zane.
Tell me again that you liked Clark Kent's portrayal in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Wrong. Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor was awesome. I know. Look, we can't have Kevin Spacey in movies anymore. But you can.
You can.
No, you can't. You're not allowed.
It's Kevin's fault, though.
You could, absolutely. You could do a damn sight better than Jesse Eisenberg, and we all wanted Billy Zane. I thought.
Dude,
hell yeah.
I understand Jesse Eisenberg's career in general. Like, can we talk about that for a minute? Like, he was great in The Social Network, but after that, like, who cares, dude?
Because he just does the Facebook guy all the time.
Yeah.
What would happen if the Facebook guy had to go against zombies? Well, here you go.
I didn't even see the sequel to Zombieland and I love Zombieland.
Yeah, it's like, what would happen if Zuckerberg lived in a zombie apocalypse? It's like, I don't know, it probably would go like this.
What about the time where Mark Zuckerberg lived in the zombie apocalypse?
What if he was a magician who had to rob casinos or whatever? Well, it would probably go like this. It's like, well, what if he had to get a summer job at this carnival? Well, it would be like this. And it's like,
John, that's
but see,
such a
even
great
his
point.
charisma in those portrayals isn't the same charisma he brought to Lex Luthor. It was more neurotic as Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
if he acted just like himself, like he did in all of his other roles, it would have been tons better.
Yeah. He was a bad Lex Luthor. There's just no way around it. And it's such a shame because, I know Jeff put it to me very succinctly. It was like that if there was no Superman, Lex Luthor would be viewed on Earth as Superman. Like, he is this sort of top-tier, pinnacle human being, the stuff that outwardly people think that he does philanthropically, his genius, all this stuff, he would be viewed as the Superman. And that's not who Jesse Eisenberg was in that movie at all.
Yeah, like Lex Luthor, I thought that was like the whole point of his last name being Luthor and everything like that. Yeah, that he's the second fiddle, basically, to Superman. I also always thought of him as like the antithesis to Bruce Wayne. Like, what Bruce Wayne actually is what Lex Luthor's public persona is. I would have loved if they had gotten somebody like cool and charismatic, like a Billy Zane or something like that, but just maybe even younger, honestly. But like, very strong, basically the same size as Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, good looking guy. If they had him on like a magazine cover, he's like the most eligible bachelor, but he's also super smart. He's philanthropic, like we were talking about, successful businessman. He's also just like super nice guy.
He just has,
if you get to know him. And then what happens is, and then like you see him and he's able to hold it together for a while. And then as soon as like he's in his office or he's like, in the back doors, he just snaps, and like he just breaks down and you hear him talking about Superman or whatever, fucked up thing it is that he's doing. And it would have been cool if they had a magazine cover where they called him Superman or something like that in, what are the DCEU movies. But I mean, you can't do that with Jesse Eisenberg. The scene that always shows me just how out of place he is as Lex Luthor is when he's introducing Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne at that gala. And it's the three of them standing together. And he is so insignificant looking compared to the two of them. Two of them look great together. And I love that scene for the two of them. But like Lex should be right there with them. And it should be like, wow, these three like powerhouses basically, but for very different reasons.
the guy that plays Homelander in The Boys, I forget his name, but he would work as a Lex Luthor. The way he's charismatic and charming and that plastic smile, then just dead in the eyes behind.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Lex Luthor is like. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's presenting it exactly like that. No, that's a good call.
Absolutely. Mark, what do you think of Dawn of Justice as a whole?
Dawn of Justice as a whole?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I think the action sequences were great. I mean, Zack Snyder can't do it wrong. I thought Batfleck. I was on board with Batfleck.
I know you were right from the beginning.
Love Ben Affleck. Jeff. Everything he does. Everything. Gigli, Jersey Girl, Man About Town.
Okay, reel it back in, fella.
I'm there. But so Batfleck, I was really on board with.
Phantoms, didn't even mention the Phantoms, yo.
And I thought his representation of Batman was great. I thought the action sequences of him like lurking up in the shadows and busting through walls and just
that was very cool Batman action.
That was some of the best Batman action I've seen on film. Those entire sequences. I liked the world they were starting to build in. The revelation of Doomsday. I mean, I do felt it was a bit rushed to get to the death of Superman right away as a whole. I think that was a bit of a jump. I mean, I was hoping to get a little more. I was devastated that they killed him off. My God. But I think it really, again, in the scheme of where this movie universe is headed, works, right?
It was a big card to play so early on.
Big card to play.
And it just, I guess that's the thing, is it feels, some of the DC stuff, that the moves that they make, like playing a card like that, sort of feels like it's like rushed. I guess if anything in the, there's a through line, it's like a lot of it felt rushed. That felt like a rushed move to me.
Yeah, a little bit like, what do people know about Superman? He gets killed by Doomsday and there's a Lex Luthor. Do it. What are
things? Yeah, was not a fan of them doing in that one. Maybe if they kill him off in the first Justice League movie, maybe that's a little better, and then he can come back down the line. But it did felt a little too soon.
Yeah, but I also felt like it helped turn the tide with some people and some narratives around what Superman is, at least for maybe like a lot of the global citizens, where there's this fear of him and the destruction that happened in Man of Steel. And same thing, that's, Batman versus Superman in Dawn of Justice is, we got to like control these powers and there's too much power for one person sort of idea. But then when you are actually faced with evil with that power, and then this guy makes the ultimate sacrifice to stop it, kind of turns the world around on Superman. So the entire memorial service that they did for him and all that was really well done.
I do think
lump throat.
No, I agree. They actually did that part well, but again, it was just so soon into this universe to play that card. I want to circle back to the Martha scene because that is a real low point, just logically, from that movie. It's so stupid. Like, you just, it is the worst part of Batfleck is this just haunting audio of him. Why would you say that name? It is so bad. And like, this is the world's greatest detective. And he, like we've talked about, he has files on these people that he's looked into. He knows that Superman is Clark Kent. That should not have been a grand revelation to him that they had their mom had the same name. What the fuck are we doing here?
When Batfleck is channeling his Batman and fighting in the street, right? When he's really getting in there and getting heated in the moment, he's channeling the death of his parents and for his mom's name to pop up. I mean, who else do you fight harder for than your family, right? And so that comes in, kind of throws him off his game.
It's a reach, Mark. It's a reach.
You're not really.
It makes total sense.
Are you defending this?
I've been trying to give you a lot of rope here, pal, but that was a big time stretch. That was come on, man. It was bad. Just admit it was bad. I'm saying.
I like Diane Lane as Martha.
Yes, yeah, she did a great job.
She did. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about is the exact scene when the name Martha is mentioned. Fucking Batman fell to pieces.
It's his kryptonite.
Ugh, no, it isn't. What did you think about the Martha scene, Jeff?
I don't mind it.
Are you serious?
I'm not really that bothered by it, no. And I do think it's kind of interesting that both their moms are named Martha. Yeah, well, I threw that in there because it's infamous. but that's not my opinion. I think there is something to the theory that Disney was buying trolls and critics to purposely criticize all DC films, because I feel a lot of garbage is thrown that way, and I think it was to pump up the MCU and try to derail the DCEU before it even got started. There's too much shit. It was back like when IMDb still even had forums, which they've had to get rid of now because of all the toxicity. I was on there. I know what it was like. I was part of it.
You contributed.
I contributed a lot to it.
You're on their lists.
I'm not tolerant to people that don't agree
was on
with
the
me.
dole.
Yeah,
He's like, I know this because they paid me to.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it was that bad of a thing. They were just trying to bridge the gap of like what these two have connected, and then it kind of they were showing his family dying like a couple of times because I think it was haunting him again recently. Which it's not the first Batman movie where they've done that before. Batman Forever, he started having reoccurring dreams of his father's death, and it's like, well, why is he at that age having reoccurring dreams about his father's death? It was just something that he was going through at that one moment, and then he learned from it by the end of the movie. I think the same thing was just going on with his parents, and it made him look at Superman a different way. I mean, was it executed perfectly? No, of course not. But I mean, that's par for the course with these movies so far. My criticisms with these films, it doesn't make the top 5.
Very dumb scene. Just a complete.
I don't want Batman and Superman to fight each other in the first place. I don't understand the.
That was my next question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Is how do we feel about the fact that, you know, in terms of playing cards too soon? Look, we kill off Superman in this movie, but one of the things going into it, and I know we discussed at length, is like, you know, world's finest. You know, like, why are they fighting so soon? Kind of deal. And I understand the justification within the storyline of the movie that like he's this alien. And Bruce Wayne, you know, doesn't want him wielding this sort of power unchecked. But as a DC fan, which I am, and as a fan of these two characters in particular, it just, I don't know. It was a sort of an odd choice at the time to like, oh, they're going to be fighting already. Like, I don't know. I just never got off on the title. Oh, Batman v Superman. That never was sort of one of my sort of things. I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see him fight. I've never been interested in that. They're friends, but I understand, but it was just not how I got my jollies. Jeff, you were going somewhere with that, with them fighting.
Yeah, I don't understand the obsession that so many people seem to have with the two of them fighting. I like that they have different approaches to how they handle crime or villainy or any of that stuff, but that they have this respect for one another. It's good to have both sides of it. I mean, they're not opposites or anything like that. They just have two different styles of doing things. It's kind of like what we were talking about with the X-Men episode. It's not Charles Xavier and Magneto here. It's like Charles Xavier and Cable. You know, it's like they're both aiming for basically the same thing, but they have very different styles of doing it. It also has to do with their power sets. Batman can't, you know, combat a threat the same way Superman can, and Superman's going to look at things differently than Batman. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, they both understand that they're on the same side.
I feel like a lot of the tone that these movies have taken, I feel like a lot of the tone these movies have taken is based a lot on part of what Frank Miller did with the Dark Knight Returns series. And one of the big things for Dark Knight Returns is Batman versus Superman, albeit older Batman, albeit Batfleck's Batman looks just like Dark Knight Returns Batman, even down to the plate on his chest. So I think it was a natural fit in fanboy, you know, apparatus to have that kind of fit in there, because it's the Dark Knight Returns, right? We've had plenty of Superman, plenty of Batman in the past. We all remember them. So yeah, let's do that. As far as making this into the jump on point for the new series, though, as well, I think you can look at many times across comic book history and just other mediums, whenever there are two powerhouses that finally cross paths and do a crossover event, they always meet in conflict.
They got to feel out their oats a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. They both have their own way of wanting to do things, just like Jeff expressed, and they have to, you know, come to terms with that and realize, oh no, he's just going about it a different way. It's not necessarily my way's right or his way's right. We're both shooting for the same goal, and that's how that clash comes at that first meeting. Now they can be best buds. And World's Finest comics sound great, or do some Trinity rolls and throw a Wonder Woman in there.
I'm gonna sound like a broken record, But I do agree with Mark. Like there's been a lot of Batman and Superman movies, and it's okay to see them finally fight. I understand like the need from especially like Marvel fans to have like a cutoff point where it's like, no, this is where the DCEU starts. And maybe that has even been adopted by Warner Brothers and DC on some level. But like there are even threads that tie the Nolan movies to the current DC universe, and even like Joker, which is not technically part of the DCEU but is about a character who's in the DCEU, and that connects to the Nolan movie. So like there are all these threads that connect, and like it's not like this is like Batman film number 2 all of a sudden you see Batman and Superman fighting. Like we have a half dozen, or
it was our first introduction into this Batman, though.
But John, you also say it's about time that they fight. Is it about time that Wonder Woman and Aquaman fight? I don't understand what the obsession is about just Batman and Superman, and that the two of them need to fight. Like even the Civil War in MCU, it's like, well, that's based on a comic book story. Whether I like that story or not is regardless of that, it doesn't matter. It actually exists. But like the Batman Superman stuff, I don't know why there's been a push for it for like past, I don't know, started in the 80s, probably because the Dark Knight Rises?
The Dark Knight Return.
Returns, yeah, Dark Knight Returns, excuse me. Yeah, and it's just, that story is so different than what the two of them actually are. And it was, I thought the whole point of the two of them fighting in that showed how different that they had become and what the world was looking like at that point. And I mean, Superman in that story is really nothing more than like a pawn for the U.S. government.
Just a shill.
I mean, that's not this Superman.
It is true. I guess I understand the box office appeal of it, and I do think it's worth exploring later on in this episode the conspiracy about downvoting or whatever the comments, because I do think that I'd forgotten about that controversy until you brought it up, Jeff.
I think Disney's a piece of shit company. I mean, they are, and they're getting everything that they deserve right now.
I think that's a real possibility, because even like the quibbles that we may have had with some of these movies, especially with a movie like Justice League, which was like I didn't see the problem. And it's there's this idea with the internet and social media and stuff like that. Once you give those trolls and you dominate the groupthink, then all of a sudden Justice League sucks. Even though Justice League absolutely did not suck, and we'll get into it, is a good movie. But once you dominate the conversation, then fewer people are going to disagree and say, well, no, I liked it, kind of deal. So I think there is something to that. But before we go to a break and we explore more of these movies, Davis, I just want to get your thoughts again on sort of Batman and Superman fighting with sort of the introduction of Batfleck and starting out on that tone.
I never understood why there was a fight and why it could last so long. Because just knowing Superman's power set, that's why I never understood what Jeff was saying, why people wanted this, because it should be over in a matter of moments.
Did you watch the movie?
Well, I did. Not only that, see, the fight is never fun between the two of them, because it's like, okay, Superman's either in control, and you saw that Batman had no effect on him, or they throw kryptonite on Superman, and he's like as weak as an infant. And it's like, now Batman's in full control. They're never equal. There's no real suspense to the fight. I just don't understand. And then even how he was acting in that was so dumb. It never should have even gotten to that point.
Because it's just a power set thing for me. Because if Superman can go as fast as he can, then none of that should even matter.
Yeah, but Superman's a big dumb oaf, dude, and intellect is definitely a
No.
skill set.
No, like
intellect.
Yeah, he actually has super intelligence. He's got super everything.
It should never matter. It's just you have to suspend so much belief for me to even watch that. It just goes away.
The whole
well, I mean, we are talking about a Kryptonian, though, Davis. So we're already.
I can't leave
our belief is suspended.
One of my favorite memes to come out of Dawn of Justice or Man of Steel rather is when Lois Lane's sitting across from Superman and he's like, well, actually, this on my planet means hope, and when she's like, well, actually, here it's an S. He's like, how about no? I'm Hope Man. Doesn't mean it's not an S. We're gonna take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to get into sort of the world building that has occurred after Dawn of Justice. Bringing in Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, and others, Justice League. We're gonna get more into that on the other side of the Best Damn Nerd Show. And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. We are talking the DC Extended Universe, and we really got in the muck and mire of how it got kicked off and everything like that. And I want to take some time now to talk about Justice League and some of the other films that have sprung out and sort of enriching this DC cinematic world, because there are some highlights to talk about, maybe some lowlights as well. I've mentioned it a few times now already. I thoroughly enjoyed Justice League. It's my favorite Henry Cavill portrayal of Superman that we've gotten thus far. It just made me really happy. They're throwaway scenes to a lot of people, but it's how I personally love seeing Superman, and we got that in Justice League. It was so weird to me that so many people crapped on it. The Flash exceeded my expectations in that movie because, rewinding back, and we'll maybe touch on this a little bit as we close, in terms of some of the things that DC has that maybe Marvel doesn't, is a lot of their television properties and stuff, even if they're not connected necessarily. But when they announced Ezra Miller was going to be the Flash, all of us as friends, we were kind of bummed out because we liked Grant Gustin on the CW show. So it was kind of a tall order. It's like, oh, well, who's this guy? We already have a Flash. And at that time, especially, the show was good and we were enjoying it. And so that was tough. But Ezra Miller in the Justice League exceeded my expectations. Cyborg was really good. I think if there is a weak point of Justice League, it's Steppenwolf was very forgettable. But I think that's kind of been the sort of if there's a weak point, it is some of the villains in these movies haven't been the best. But the movie necessarily wasn't really about him specifically. It was about all these other characters coming together. So I didn't dock it as much as maybe I normally would for another movie. It was also the first time we got Jason Momoa as Aquaman, which overall enjoyed. There were some forced moments in terms of had to be the coolest guy in the room and stuff like that. But I'll kick it over to you guys in terms of what you thought of Justice League. Davis?
Yeah, I didn't mind them forcing Aquaman as much as a lot of people did, I feel like, because he is that character that wasn't cool, and I think before that, he in the cartoons he was always pretty cheesy.
I feel like just because Family Guy said he wasn't cool.
No, it was before that. It was before Family
Guy. It was definitely
Guy.
Before that.
Dave Chappelle was doing stand up with that in the 90s.
Yeah.
Aquaman in the 90s had like a hook hand though. He was super
exactly. They were trying to make him cool in the 90s. That was their first Jason Momoa move, and it sucked. It was the worst.
That was panned. That definitely. I remember being like, God, they are really trying to do something with Aquaman here.
I liked it.
But they really portrayed most of the characters pretty well in this, and Cyborg was pretty just kind of off to the side. But that's how I think of Cyborg too. It's just like he's kind of monotone. He's a machine. That's how it should be.
The heartstrings element with him though and his dad was very well done in Justice League.
They just kind of peppered that in there, and they didn't do too much in it, but it still hit. So that was good. But your note about Steppenwolf, I feel like for these team up movies, I think you kind of need a forgettable villain, because you're introducing 3 members of the Justice League in this movie, and so there's so much that you have to do with those. You need the time to make sure that you get enough with each of those characters, and you need somebody that's just kind of like a beat 'em up villain.
And I still think hopes were extremely high coming into this from the studio's aspects. Like, look, we'll give them this now that will lead to Darkseid. Mm-hmm. We don't have to give that to them now. I think maybe in hindsight, maybe they would have done it differently.
I feel like that's been DC's MO, is like it's going to be the second movie where we bring in the major bad.
Marvel's MO too. We had to wait however long to get Thanos, and
Yeah, but Marvel did.
Ultron was a shit villain.
Yes.
And Loki's a good villain. Looking back, the Chitauri, they were fine, but they were putties.
Yeah.
So
no, but I mean that was Loki, and
it's
he
not
was
just
huge.
Steppenwolf. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but then Loki, all of his character development was really in the Thor movie. And so
Right.
they kind of were able to cheat. So you have this great villain, and that's because he was already set up. And I think you made a good point, Davis. Also, unlike the Avengers movie where everybody was already introduced, they're bringing in new characters here. So it's like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to talk about these superheroes, or are we going to make a richer villain? And I think, they made the best decision. Yeah, they made the best decision that they could.
Which it could be different in the Snyder Cut, because it's going to be, an hour longer, so you might get some more.
Maybe, but I also, I don't, the Snyder Cut, which, look, I guess
also Steppenwolf was in Batman versus Superman, I think, at least like in a post-credit scene, he speaks to Lex Luthor or something like that, and they just ended up cutting it. So there was more, and it really is just setting up Darkseid. But.
Yeah. I don't know. I just the Snyder Cut thing as this sort of savior of the DC cinematic universe. I just balk at because one, it didn't need it because Justice League was good.
Well, he's also the one that put the DC cinematic universe in a position where it needed a savior. The people that saved it were the Patty Jenkins, the I can't think of the Aquaman director's name, the guy who did Saw.
James Wan.
Yeah, James Wan. It's like those are the saviors of the DC universe. I won't even say Joss Whedon because I understand why people don't like Justice League. It still is like this, crumpled up mess of a movie. I just like all of the characters, and I thought they did a good job with Superman. But there's a bunch of junk in it too.
Yeah.
Marco, what did you think?
Love Justice League. Wish there was a bigger villain other than Steppenwolf. I just think Steppenwolf is forgettable as a whole.
Even in the source
not
material.
My guy. Yeah, but parademons and mother boxes and starting to branch into that and going into Fourth World and whatnot would be super cool. I loved how they did Aquaman. I don't remember anyone talking negatively about Aquaman when that came out. Aquaman was riding high. People loved it.
You were doing this podcast. James and I were saying shit about Aquaman constantly.
I don't remember a single disparaging remark about Aquaman.
A selective memory.
Wait. Hold on. Do you mean about Momoa's portrayal or about Aquaman in
about Momoa's portrayal?
Okay.
About Momoa's portrayal. Because I was super hopeful, especially coming off of the Jeff Johns comic book run.
Phenomenal run.
So good. So I was really hopeful on it. I thought it was just a different take of how he looked aesthetically, but I think he owned it, and it came off great. Cyborg getting his upgrade into the Justice League. I've always been kind of indifferent. I love Cyborg Teen Titans. I love his character. I love how he plays off of Beast Boy. And I'm just a huge Teen Titans fan in various iterations. I like that group. And so when he got upgraded to Justice League, and basically we booted out Martian Manhunter is how I like Martian Manhunter.
So do I. Exactly. That sucks.
Yeah. But trying to do more of this real world, sort of universe they're making, I guess, you eventually got to get Watchtower and setting up the communications, and instead of doing telepathy, let's just do a computer and the internet, which kind of.
Well, and
I guess makes sense.
Cyborg's inclusion, again, he was a real standout in the film, I thought. Whether or not
I don't think he got enough, actually. I felt like he was there, but he didn't get enough done. So I actually hope they expand on him into the next ones.
Do you want a Cyborg movie?
He wants a Teen Titans movie.
I want a Teen Titans movie.
Yeah. Jeff, what did you think of Justice League?
Sweet.
Yeah, I also enjoyed Justice League. I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I was expecting that much from it, but I left the theater. I was like, all right, that was a solid movie. Cyborg definitely had less to do than the other characters in the movie, but I thought that was appropriate for him. Everything he did is something that Cyborg should do. And he's Cyborg,
It's like Hawkeye. It's like Hawkeye in the Marvel movies. Like, just stay the fuck out of the way, dude. Like, you have a bow and arrow. What is that? Just stay out of the way.
Got some pretty good powers, dude.
You're lucky to have Jeremy Renner. You're lucky to have any speaking lines, you dingus.
The trolls that was downvoting the DC movies.
Like, Cyborg has a better power set than Hawkeye does, but he's not Wonder Woman or Batman or Aquaman. It's like Cyborg doesn't have the same kind of fans. He has Teen Titans fans, which means that they're fans of the team.
I want more booyahs.
No booyah. Oh wait, he did a booyah, didn't he? He did one or two. Yeah, he did one. That's all you
Needs
need.
to be
It's just like Deadpool
crossed.
said one chimichanga line, and that's all you needed.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
you don't want to play it up too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, even though Steppenwolf was a forgettable villain, look, the Parademons I think are infinitely better to include and a much better fan service than the Chitauri are.
Well, I thought the Chitauri were only used because they didn't have scrolls yet. And I mean, they have scrolls now because they were in Captain Marvel.
That's accurate, but I still think that even the Parademons are kind of a I like seeing them on the big screen. I thought that was a cool usage of them.
They're creepy.
I liked seeing them all kick ass at the end. That was like for them to finally come together. And look, I am an Aquaman fan, and I understand that he was made to look stupid for a long time. I personally, I love his portrayal in the Flashpoint Paradox comic and the animated movie. I think that really, to me, is some top tier Aquaman storyline. Him getting to be with Diana, and then
Emperor
the war
Aquaman.
that they go on. Oh, it's so cool.
Emperor.
So if they do a Flashpoint Paradox movie, I hope we get to see that. Jason Momoa, it definitely coming back to it was combating the fact that they wanted to make him the coolest guy in the room, even with Batman in the room. But I do think the scene with him in the lasso came off.
That's a great
off
scene.
Well.
Yeah,
I think that came off well. Some of the other stuff, the chugging the drinks and like the big time like hero entrances into the bar or whatever, and even looking into his own solo movie. I guess we could just talk about it right now. So, the Aquaman solo film has a lot of great things about it, and as a lover of lore, it might be the greatest DC cinematic movie they've done yet in this extended universe because they go full bore into the lore, and I'm loving that. However, there are some dialogue and just cringe moments. I've never sort of gone back and like a fan in this movie watching Aquaman when he gets on the submarine and he just looks over his shoulder with that smirk and goes, "Permission to come aboard." I was like, "Oh God!"
Oh, that was fun. That was fun.
That's Momoa.
Yeah, you go to Aquaman to have fun. That is a fun movie.
It is a fun movie.
And just a cool superhero movie.
And had some really great, just visually spectacular. And it was unique, which you can't say, necessarily. It's rare when there's things that you haven't seen before. And so all the underwater stuff that they do in Aquaman, I thought came off really well. And we're talking about how Steppenwolf was, a forgettable villain. I think one of the things that makes Aquaman stand out is its use of Ocean Master and Black Manta. I thought both were very good, and they gave me fucking Black Manta, which is what I've wanted. Like, I watched the old Aquaman cartoon. I liked Torpedo Man, for crying out loud. So like I wanted to see some of these characters, and they actually gave us Black Manta. I thought I loved and Jeff, maybe you can speak to this a little bit too, the sort of almost Horus Heresy-esque Ocean Master, like that title. Like, I just kept thinking about War Master and just like how obsessed he was with it and everything like that. I like how they portrayed Orm quite a bit. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed the villainry in Aquaman was very good, as was the lore. Like, I loved all this. It's like showing, Atlan and the quest for the trident and everything. I was like, oh, awesome. But what did you think of Aquaman, Jeff?
No, I absolutely adored Aquaman. I've never been a big Aquaman fan. I never really read the comics or anything like that. One of my bigger introductions to him was the 90s Aquaman, who I thought was a try-hard douche. I'm more of a Submariner guy. But I mean, I'm just a Marvel dude. What do I know?
Momoa isn't a try-hard douche.
No, Jason Momoa is a try-hard douche also, but you got to read the 90s comics, John. Then you will see a try-hard douche.
Yeah.
Mark has
yeah. But they had such a world that they had to build. All the different kingdoms of Atlantis, the fucking crab people, and how great they were. Crab people. They were good guys, though. They were cool, man. They didn't want to go to war with us, and I appreciate that, even though they had the biggest military.
Yeah.
It's really a great callback to like the Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3. Like when we got to go to the underwater world, the underwater home of Jar Jar, and see
Naboo.
Like underwater in like a cinematic realm.
The Gungans,
like,
yeah,
great Gungans with great special effects. To me, like it's great inspiration, and it kind of opens the door. I wanted to do an impression, but I'm smiling, so I can't. the king.
just a troll, John.
John's doing his own podcast right now.
We got to see great underwater world making.
Comparing, yeah, and it was light years better than what we got in episode 1.
The Gungans kind of would have fit in though, honestly, because other than Jar Jar, they were all fine. They were
for the most
okay
part. Boss
race.
Nass was kind of a douche.
He's a fat king.
I did enjoy the underwater scenes quite a bit, particularly when they were escaping from Atlantis, and it was a very Tron Legacy battle. It was like almost right down to the sound effects. I was like, dude, is this an homage to a movie that came out not that long ago? But it was fun, and I thought Mara was very good. Amber Heard. Hopefully, she can come back to the project or however that thing settles out.
That's over. I think they had to just kick her to the curb.
I mean, and
she really shit the bed. I'll be here all week.
Hopefully, I mean, listen, however that plays out, hopefully justice is served.
I liked her as Mira, though. I thought she did a good job, and I mean, she's gorgeous, so I mean that works too.
I didn't care for her introduction in the movie, really, or she just like walks out of the water and starts spitting some like Atlantis game at Aquaman. It just
because she was introduced in Justice League. So it's like he already knows her.
Yeah, it just felt sort of out of place in that movie. But I did like Tamara Morrison, who played his dad. I thought was very good. I liked how they did the trench. Which again on the Jeff Johns arc was a big part of that. Mark, what did you think?
Trench movie. We have
you want a whole movie centering around the trench
movie. Yeah.
I don't know if you could do
that. I mean,
that.
it's James Wan. He does horror great.
He's actually said he wanted to do a movie like that too.
And I think he could honestly do it where it fully breaks out and becomes such a menace like Jeff Johns did. I think that would be fantastic. I mean, they already have half of it done. I mean, they had all the animation and ways of doing them on film already created. So it's not that much of a stretch to continue going. Yeah.
I thought they came off really well. There were a lot of aspects of Aquaman that I truly loved. I liked the adventure. However, tonally, there were, again, dialogue I thought was a weak point at times. There was some weird use of like music and settings, like when they were in Italy and they were playing this like super romantic music.
You didn't like the scene when she ate the rose? I thought that was so adorable.
It started taking me out of and making me feel like I was watching Notting Hill as opposed to an Aquaman movie.
Nothing wrong with that either.
I like Notting Hill, but I don't.
It's
I don't
a king
go,
and his
I
queen.
don't go to love. I don't go to love.
I know you go to see Torpedo Man. Hang up on James.
No. I just certain aspects of that like kind of took me out of it a bit, but they followed that up with giving us real ass Black Manta, which was great. But Davis, I think you might echo some of the weak points of Aquaman. What did you think of the movie?
Well, I will say it's a great popcorn flick. It's fun, it's actiony, but
it's an adventure movie.
I don't think it really broke the mold on much. It was very cliche. I didn't like Ocean Master.
Why not?
He just didn't do it for me. Like he came off very dull. Like
well,
I don't know. I don't. Well, he was very dull. And there wasn't much to him.
My expectations.
Black Manta, though, I do agree with. Like he was cool. That was a lot of fun, jumping through the buildings, getting blasted, and but I will say the quest for the Trident was a very cool series of events. I will always remember that. That did blow me away, that whole thing.
And then what about like Black Manta's whole like backstory and everything? The introduction of him and his father. They were just a couple of pirates. Him getting like that Atlantis tech. The montage scene of him actually creating the costume. I thought all of that was really awesome. And I mean, he's kind of like the B villain, and like he got a lot of screen time to do all that stuff. It really sets him up to kick ass in future ones too. And I don't know.
I thought he was
Aqualad.
I thought he was much more interesting than Ocean Master personally. So
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, well, Black Man is the guy to me when it comes to Aquaman.
And also Ocean Master is that classic story of it's a couple of brothers fighting for the throne. You know, I mean, we saw it with Thor and Loki, and maybe it was executed better with Thor and Loki also, especially since they were raised together. So it's kind of like this feelings of betrayal where these two are strangers. My whole thing with Ocean Master is my mom had sex with a surface dweller, which is like the grossest thing in the world. And now this half-breed bastard, thinks that he's going to be king of Atlantis. It's like, I was raised for this shit. And it's look at him. He doesn't even look like an Atlantean. It's like, so I can understand him just like almost being repulsed. And Arthur Curry's existence is just a memory of like his mother's shame in his eyes. So I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can look at there. Maybe it wasn't all executed, but
I loved how they did sort of the propaganda-esque aspect of that relationship too. I loved how when they dueled, it was him playing to the crowd and talking about how he's a true Atlantean and this guy's just an interloper of this sort of shameful interaction and deceit. I thought all that played really, really well in the movie. So again, I think Aquaman, I think its greatest strengths are the lore that it gave you. Its villains were I thought both very well done and made me excited to see more. I liked Ocean Master's quest to become literally the title of Ocean Master. That really played well for me.
And it was cool seeing like the diplomacy and like the force of arms and things like that. And then also Dolph Lundgren just kicking ass. I think we can all agree.
Yeah,
Alpha's gonna alpha. All right.
It was an interesting take on an origin film because we'd already been introduced to him, but we did get some good flashback stuff about, him being with Willem Dafoe's character with Volko, right?
Volko.
Yeah.
Volko's a great character too.
Which Volko is a great character. It was a little hard for me to see Willem Dafoe in that role just because he's
not
Green
portly
Goblin.
Enough.
He's Green Goblin. Yeah, he's not portly enough, but he is also the Green Goblin to me, still in a lot of ways. But I enjoyed again that the backstory that we got there and the fleshing out of everything. And again, I'm not usually a guy that goes gaga for the visuals, but they had a tall order with showing Atlantis and how that all worked, and I thought they did a phenomenal job with it. And I loved how Atlantis looked in their futuristic past and everything. It was just I was eating all that stuff up. I was in heaven.
It was strange because in Justice League when they did the underwater stuff, it did not look good, and that's why I was very worried for Aquaman when it came out, because when Steppenwolf and Aquaman and Mara were fighting in Justice League, it looked terrible. That was one of the worst visual moments in that movie.
I blame Zack Snyder.
We hear
all right. I blame Joss Whedon.
I want to see another hour of his work though.
Good. We all do.
I do not.
Well, so do the masses. They've demanded it.
And
those Marvel trolls.
I'm cool with it. That's fine.
Richard Donner got a cut. Give Zack Snyder a cut. Come on.
Wonder Woman and her solo film, as Mark alluded to earlier in the show, was a box office triumph, and I think they really have done the Wonder Woman character a lot of justice in this DC cinematic universe that they're doing. I love looking at the Wonder Woman solo film. Her and her scenes with Chris Pine and Steve Trevor, I think, stand out the most to me in the rewatch. Wonder Woman as a movie, I think, suffers more than Justice League did from having just a kind of a trash-ass villain. I don't like they got Remus Lupin to play Ares.
Dude, why don't you just like
Ares is great. Ares is quintessential.
No, he likes Ares. He wanted someone else to play Ares.
I wanted somebody better to play Ares.
Like a Dolph Lundgren.
He's so unassuming.
Yes.
He's just like a normal Greek
all right,
god
Ryan
that's
Johnson,
like
go
just hiding in the shadows and
I don't want to hear it. No,
puppeting humanity.
He was not a good Ares.
Oh,
he was not.
I'm siding with Mark on this one. I thought the reveal was really good, that he was there pulling the strings the entire time. The guy who was the pacifist, who was trying to end the war, was actually the one who was urging everybody to keep going. It was perfect. And then when they did the
you're a fan of mythology, James.
And when they did the flashback with the CG and everything like that, and
Ares from Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. Give me that Ares.
But that's you're thinking of the Xena Warrior Princess Ares, because they used to just have like this weird like puppet costume, and then they brought in the good-looking guy later. Yeah,
that's right. He was great.
R.I.P. That guy was awesome.
Indeed. He was super awesome. No, I didn't think that they did Ares justice in the Wonder Woman film. But Mark, as the DC extraordinaire aficionado that you are, what did you think of Wonder Woman?
Loved it. Her whole coming through from mascara, a lot of the what? You surprised that I like good movies?
You haven't disliked any of these.
They're all great. They're all great. Show me a bad movie, I'll tell you.
What did I expect?
The real reason for us doing this episode is to give me justification for when I now introduce Mark in this new era of Best Damn Nerd Show as DC Lapdog Mark.
Wonder Woman was a triumph, and it was long overdue. Long overdue to give her this film and break her out, and I think it's wonderful how she was received. And I think Gal Gadot looks stunning in the outfit. She
Amazing.
plays the role right. I liked the Dr. Poison. I thought that was a fun little like side villain to keep the wheel turning. I loved how it was set in this period piece in there that made it this different world. It's a good way to kind of like suspend belief when you're watching a comic book movie where all the aesthetics are different.
Yeah, I
it
think
helps you buy into what's going on.
Yeah, because they're already asking you to be in a different period. I absolutely echo that. It helps your suspension of disbelief when they're transporting you to not only another place, but a different time. It worked in Captain America, the first Avenger, really well. It definitely worked in Wonder Woman. And it's another great lore movie for DC. You get like Themyscira and just like all the Amazon lore. That was some good shit.
Yeah, and then her just wrecking shop in battle, like being a human cannonball, was amazing to watch.
That's a good scene.
Jeff, what did you think?
The first time I saw it, I loved it. I saw it again recently, like less than a month ago, and I liked it. It's still a good movie, but I don't think it's like the end all be all like it was portrayed to be and how people were talking about it and building it up. I think she's great. I thought Chris Pine as Steve Trevor was awesome. I thought the villains were good. I thought everything else about it was forgettable. Their knockoff Howling Commandos, those guys all kind of sucked. It being in World War One, I don't know. I don't think it was really necessary. I feel like they took parts from Captain America: First Avenger, and they took parts from the Thor movie, and then they just made it a Wonder Woman movie. And I mean, it worked because she was still great, but I don't know.
I can I can definitely see the parallels that you're talking about.
Yeah, right. There are comparisons. Yeah, but I thought Themyscira was great, and I liked how they did all of that.
On the other side, like I've been thinking about how interesting it was to see her powers be used against somewhat like modern technology, and of course it's not like totally contemporary technology. It's technology from 100 years ago, but like it eases us in to what we're going to be seeing when technology does advance. You know, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty good movie overall.
Yeah, it was. I would say it's probably top 2 in the DC universe for me.
What's the other one?
Green Lantern.
Gosh, no, I'd go
Squad, Shazam.
I'd go.
Oh God, we haven't even talked about Shazam.
Or Suicide Squad.
Wow, actually, Shazam might be up there.
Shazam's a good movie.
Yeah, I actually really like that. So, top three. So, but she was really good, and I don't know Wonder Woman that well, so this brought me into it, and the lore, like you said, James, was done really well. I was on James's fence. I wasn't a huge fan of who Ares turned out to be. I like that there was a change up there, but I would just want more from my Ares actor personally. So
yeah.
If you do like the Ares story, the DC animated movie of Wonder Woman that had Kerry Russell and Nathan Fillion as Steve Trevor is awesome, and that's a big Ares bad in that, and origin story, Themyscira, all of it, more or less like a lot of the blueprint that led into kind of this one, except this modern day DC.
I wonder why.
It's a shame that I mean, like Steve Trevor's sacrifice was good in Wonder Woman, but now we are without that character for Diana moving forward. I do think the sequel looks awesome. Like if the trailers are any indicator, that movie's going to be badass. So I'm excited for Wonder Woman 1984. But let's talk about Shazam.
I thought Gal Gadot's Imagine cover with all those celebrities was the sequel.
No, that was the real trailer.
Yeah.
Well, that was more hopeful, Diana.
Yeah.
We're all in this together,
to
Justice
world.
League. You brought up Shazam. That's one that we almost glossed over. I'm glad you guys reminded me. That was another fun, enjoyable DC romp. I think it's a worthy addition to the DC cinematic universe. It was new. We hadn't seen it before. I'm excited to see, Black Adam incorporated into this world, because in terms of DC villains, Black Adam is, one of the faves. He's definitely one of the hitters. And I think that's going to be really awesome. I don't I don't think it was Shazam. I had a lot of fun watching, and that's not the usual type of superhero film that I enjoy. But it made sense because, I've talked about this, in the other run, that Shazam or Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call him, is a really almost perfect comic book character because he's his built-in sidekick. He gives you that built-in point of view from like what it's like being a kid reading comic books, because he is a kid that becomes this superior hero kind of deal. So it's just like, from a creation aspect, I've always respected the Captain Marvel Shazam character because I just think it's a really good idea. What did you think of the Shazam movie, Jeff?
I thought it was great. We kind of predicted it when we were watching the trailers that it was just going to be a fun movie that also kind of leaned into the comic book lore, and that's exactly what it did. They had fun with it, and so it presented itself that way. I thought he did a good job as Captain Marvel. I like the kid who was Billy Batson also. So, I mean, which is really important because there's going to be just key parts of the movie where it's him instead. I liked the... I forget where the other kid came from. Like, what other... Oh, he was in the It movies. That's where he was from. I liked his foster brother. I thought he was a great character.
Freddy.
Yeah, Fred. Yeah, I thought he was great. And then Mark Strong again, killing it as always. Yep. Mark Strong coming in strong.
Always good.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
His Savannah was dope.
Yeah, he was awesome in that. And he looked cool in the trailer. He was even better in the movie. And man, it starts off really dark. That movie, like I thought it was just badass. I mean, it's not as soft as you would think.
Yeah, it definitely leaned heavier on Jahns' run.
In terms of playing cards a little too soon with the whole like Shazam family, I thought maybe was a little quick to do that one there.
They looked great, but yeah, it would have been nice if it was just maybe his film, Yeah,
that's what I wanted.
Because now they're always going to be there. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that would have been maybe a better card to play with when Black Adam enters the fold or what have you. Yeah. Davis, your thoughts on Shazam?
Yeah, it was just a fun popcorn superhero movie. And it just flew. It just flowed really well.
Yeah, he did fly, and you ate popcorn while watching it.
He flew. He flew. I watched him. He did it. I don't remember anything bad about that movie. I thoroughly enjoyed that film. So
I don't remember particularly loving again with the Shazam family and how they dealt with the ending and everything like that. Yeah. But it was it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I just thought, again, a little soon. Marco, dare I ask what you thought?
It was exquisite. Exquisite. I like Shazam. I like Shazam a lot. I like the different interpretations. I just mean the character in general. This one seems really heavy on the Jeff Johns interpretation. It's a little darker, broodier, Billy Batson. But like, again, I've mentioned it in past shows of Jeff Smith's run of the Monster Society of Evil is a fantastic Shazam. And First Thunder, his crossover with Superman, again, just phenomenal. And so getting to see it brought to life and with the carefree attitude of kind of child wonderment in comic books, and Zachary Levi doing his personification in a grown-up body just worked magic, no pun intended. And
I think it might have been intended.
And building a lot of the evil in there with the seven sins, Savannah, and then getting the Mr. Mind reveal coming into the end is like Mr. Mind on film in theaters
and treated seriously.
Yeah,
it's a fucking bug.
For that. Yeah, it's amazing. It's so amazing. So yeah, I'm totally bought it. And worth noting, when I watched Shazam, I actually went to a Captain Marvel double feature. So it was a Shazam.
Oh, you got both.
It was Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Which one won that battle?
The Captain's Marvel.
Shazam. Yeah. Far and away.
You sounded like Billy at the carnival when he gained his confidence.
Yeah, I like it. All right, Suicide Squad's another one we have to bring up. I loved the first 45 minutes of this movie, and then I hated the rest. I thought it all just fell to pieces from a story aspect. nothing was earned. Like they have that moment with El Diablo or whatever when he's talking about how they're family. It was one of the most unearned emotional scenes I have ever seen in my life. The introduction of all the characters leading into it was great. It felt like the Dirty Dozen, but with the Suicide Squad, and I loved that. But once they actually go on their mission, fuck that movie. It stunk once they're on their mission.
I refuse to watch this one just because Jared Leto was the Joker.
Okay, so you're a
pretty
Jared
good
Leto
reason.
Joker hater for
Dude. I don't like Jared Leto in general, but
What
definitely
about
not
American
as the Joker.
Psycho? What about an American Psycho?
He was fine. He was fine in that. He mostly got in the way. I'm glad he died.
Yeah, John just likes to watch the part where he gets chopped.
Yeah,
It's on
exactly.
repeat.
It's like
masturbating
it's
to
the
that.
anticipation of like the joy I'm gonna feel watching him get splattered.
Yeah, John watches that part and he watches him get the shit kicked out of him in Fight Club. Those are like the two scenes that John likes.
All right, so he brought up Jared Leto Joker. I wasn't a big fan. I don't think it was good, but
It's just a stupid take. Like what? I don't understand what.
I don't think it's Jared Leto's fault. I mean,
It's
that's what
partly
he was
his
directed
fault,
to do.
though.
Really?
I think
it's
it's
not his fault.
yeah.
Look at the other people who have played the Joker and what they've done with the role. Like you can come into it with some authorship and like do something interesting with it.
And there was those stories of him acting like a jackass on set, and like
I haven't read into those.
mailing people like
he
dead
got
mice
written
or
as
some
like a
stupid
Long Island
shit.
bro.
Is that how he was
He
written?
and Harley Quinn. That's how I feel like it was. That's the overall presentation of it, and I think he had to play into it. He didn't create the character and design the costume and all these extra things that made it.
Oh, he sure didn't walk off
the
set.
best.
It was he was not a good
Took the
Joker.
money. Yeah.
The portrayal was not good. I don't think they nailed whatever it was they were going for with him, because the reaction to him, I think, has been pretty across the board that he was not good. But I'm willing to hear other opinions if there are any. Jeff?
Yeah, I didn't hate him all that much. He's definitely probably the worst Joker I've ever seen in live action, but
Yeah.
it's a different take. The Joker's been around for decades, and there are a lot of different Jokers. If he had like copied Heath Ledger, that would have been horrendous.
Totally.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know, so and obviously that's who he was going to be compared to, because that was the latest Joker before that, and that's kind of now who everybody's being compared to. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix did his own thing, and he did an amazing job, but I mean, they still were comparing him to Heath.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to bridge the gap between what Heath Ledger was doing as far as this wild card Joker that you never know what's going to happen next with him, and the gangster Joker that Jack Nicholson had. And I know he wasn't just a straight-laced gangster. There was more to him than that. But I feel like he was trying to do this hybrid between the two, and then also he's doing his like regular Jared Leto weird shit, and it didn't work out. But I mean, I don't know. Not A for effort. C- for effort. You know,
Passing barely.
yeah, he's passing, and maybe I'll give him a D- for his Joker. It's like you're moving on to the next Joker class, Jared. But you know, like you didn't do well.
As soon as I cruise Joker,
Cruise Joker, Jared. As soon as I pass the movie.
Don't worry, Jared Leto. I think he'll squeak by. Mark, what? Building on your Long Island bro take, did you like Jared Leto as the Joker?
Not particularly. Doesn't stand out. I think it was okay. Yeah, I thought it was okay with working in tandem with Harley in it, and I thought the Harley take was good.
Getting carried by Harley.
Yeah, but I like my Harley evil. I don't want her being the hero. But I know her introduction to Suicide Squad with, what was it, Adam Glass's run in the New 52, made her basically quintessential Suicide Squad now. And so that's what most people's takes are. I think the fact that we got Deadshot, which was awesome.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Yeah, Will Smith did a good job. Just love the Deadshot character. Captain Boomerang on film. I like Diablo, again, coming from the Adam Glass run. Enchantress sucks. Talk about a forgettable villain again.
You didn't like the blow up dancey arm wavy guy?
No.
You didn't want them fighting that guy?
Enchantress
Inflatable tube man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I again, as soon as they left on their mission, I do think Margot Robbie did a good job as Harley Quinn. I didn't like the Joker feeling necessity to go after her and rescue her. That to me was counter to who the Joker is. It's
Yeah, that was
Harley
weird.
Absolutely.
Is dependent on him, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And so that to me was that was just fucking stupid. But outside of the character introductions, like just count me out. I'll walk out. The rest is ugh, no thank you. I want to I want to talk about the Birds of Prey film, which Davis recently viewed. What did you think of that?
I watched it last night. I fell asleep halfway through. It's fantastic. No, actually, I fell asleep for like 20 minutes during it because the middle section, and I went back and watched it. It drags bad. So, but it's an interesting take. I would say they definitely take a lot of liberties with characters, changing a lot of stuff about them.
Who's
yes,
in
Mark?
it? I completely missed the Birds of Prey, like it coming and going.
Yeah,
too much was going on, and
Well,
I just completely missed it.
They changed the name of the movie midway through its run in the theaters.
Yeah, it wasn't marketed very well.
No, they just it started as Birds of Prey, then they added the Harley Quinn part
the
later on.
Emancipation of Harley Quinn or whatever it is.
Harley Quinn is on the Birds of Prey. Anyway.
Yeah.
She is in this one, soldier. New interpretation.
Huntress, Cassandra Cain. Let's see who else. Black Canary, and I forget the cop's name. Montoya.
Yeah, Renee Montoya.
Yeah, and
the Question.
Yeah, and then the main villain in the film is Black Mask, done by Ewan McGregor,
which is cool.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan, and this is just from my playing of the Batman Arkham games of Black Mask.
I'm watching James be irritated by you calling him Obi-Wan.
he was great at Obi-Wan. But
hey,
from what I know, what I know of Black Mask is very little, but what it is, it's from the video games, and that was not Black Mask. So that was something entirely different. But from what was good, the fight scenes were pretty cool. A lot of it seemed unnecessary and not even possible. She walks into a police station and is trying to steal something, and she's taking to the shotgun thing and blowing people up with like confetti, rubber bullets, stuff like that. And all these cops in the cop station are just running away from her. Like every single one of them don't have a gun on them.
It sounds terrifying. I would run away too.
So I was very confused in that scene, like why that was even possible. But that was it. But and then they did Victor Zsasz too.
That's actually what I wanted to ask about. How was Zsasz?
He was awful.
Ah, damn it!
I like Zsasz a lot.
I like Zsasz too!
I didn't even know who the guy was playing until he said his name. And
did he even have cuts?
Barely.
Did he have tallies?
No, they didn't show tallies. He had like some cuts kind of on his neck. He was so forgettable, and I don't remember him doing anything. Like he just had Harley do stuff. Like he was just following Harley around, telling her what to do because he was Black Mask's right hand. It was odd. Wow. It was very odd.
I'm not saying that it sounds like a full endorsement for me to go check out on the list there. I do think Margot Robbie is a good Harley Quinn, and I understand her expanding role because she's a very popular character right now. But like Mark, I like her as a villain, not as a hero kind of deal. Mm-hmm. It's not the same thing as what they did with Mystique in the X-Men universe. But I still, I would like to get more evil Harley. As opposed to sort of like anti-hero type Harley.
And she was
feeding people to hyenas.
And she has her hyena in this movie, and she does do that once. So you got it.
Mark now, what do we think of that one?
He's on board!
Great movie.
Mallet too?
No, she used her baseball bat.
As long as Jared Leto's not in it, I'm good.
He was in it in certain aspects, wasn't he?
It was just one. No, it was just one voice overlay. They never showed him.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting. All right. Well, let's talk. It's not technically in the connected canon of the universe, but the Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix obviously took the world by storm. I was against it in principle. I do think that Joaquin Phoenix did a great job, acting in it. He's a phenomenal actor. I think it's a better movie if it's not a Joker movie. I think if you want to make a commentary about mental health in America or wherever, don't make this a Joker movie, because I'm not going to have sympathy for the Joker. However, one of the things that I do think
that's what you thought until you left the theater.
one of the things that I think is an absolutely fabulous addition was the explanation for the laughter. That it's a sort of a condition that he has, an affliction, and the whole like giving that to me, like I was like, okay, applause where it's due. Like that was really cool. And again, I think Joaquin Phoenix did a great job, and the memes that have come out from the Joker might make the movie worth it on its own. Have you seen what it's like out there, Murray? But it's just that might make it worth it. But what did you guys think of the Joker, Davis?
It's scary when you start hearing what he's saying and you're starting to agree with it in this day and age. It's you start thinking a little crazy, So
that's why it's stupid. Like
no.
I hate seeing people on social.
Shut up, Thomas Wayne.
Seeing people on social media quote the Joker as like sort of inspirational quotes about mental health to me is the worst. Well, it's awful. Yeah, and Thomas Wayne's portrayal in that movie was awful as well. Yeah. I hated that. That was fucking bullshit. Go ahead, John.
He had a creep on him.
I just watched it a couple nights ago as my research to this episode. I didn't watch any DCEU stuff. I watched Joker.
You watched the one that wasn't on the homework.
Yeah, but
wrong chapter.
Dude,
it happens.
It's an absolute masterpiece of a film, and obviously the acting is stellar in it. I thought that, like, while you might not like how Thomas Wayne was portrayed, like, you have to keep in mind that this whole thing is pretty much happening inside Joker's head. You don't know what's real.
An unreliable narrator.
Yes, you don't know what's real, what's not real. The entire thing could have been in his head. Like, we don't know that any of it actually happened, really. No. It's like a Fight Club
or American Psycho, feed me the stray cat.
Exactly. And then
that happened.
And then even if it did happen, what I like is it offers that alternative point of view. Like it really does open up the door for like an entire series of Joker films that show things from his perspective and make you like think about things a little bit differently. I think while obviously not connected to any Batman films right now, like it felt like a spiritual prequel to Nolan's Batman trilogy. And I think that what they could do, Jeff, you were saying in Discord, like, I wonder where they go next. I think that
nerdshow.com/Discord.
Yeah, I think where they should go is like far into the future. Like, use that next movie to connect it to the Nolan movies and be like, here's what he's been up to. You know what I mean? Like, or he's now breaking out of Arkham, and then what happens? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that you could do in it, and it was just interesting. It was a good movie.
As long as there's some Joker fish in the next one, for sure.
That's all Mark needs. What'd you think of it overall, though?
Actually, I got this great anecdote, but you wouldn't get it.
You want to hear? Oh man,
mute this motherfucker.
Right you wouldn't get it. Oh, that's great.
I really enjoyed it.
Weird.
I really enjoyed it.
What a twist.
I like the whole evolution of him. I love the huge payoff at the end, and the riots in the streets, and the mayhem, and him finally, kind of hitting his
finding
comfort
love,
level
dude.
with it.
Yeah.
And oh man, the turn that it was all in his head with the chick in his apartment, was
wild.
God.
So creepy. So good. And just the entire style in which it was shot and presented, I thought it was really good filmmaking.
It is. It's incredibly unnerving. James, how can you not like that he's like embraced by his people at the end of the movie? That's all he's wanted his whole life. He's downtrodden.
And it shows what a dark spot Gotham City is in at that point.
Terrible place.
Yeah.
Just the intro where he's like, spinning signs on the street and then getting the shit kicked out of him by a bunch of kids behind a dumpster.
Dude, at a certain
that
point,
whole scene was just playing out, and I'm just like,
At a certain point in Discord, I think I said to Jeff, like, has anyone ever considered that maybe Gotham isn't worth saving?
Yeah.
This is a shithole, dude. Jesus.
I mean,
Mark,
it is the murder capital of the free world, and that's like with Batman active.
There, yeah.
Mark, I want to hear you go on record of what the worst DC movie is. I want one bad thing.
The worst DC EU movies, of which we've been talking about this evening.
He's gonna say Suicide Squad. You son of a bitch.
It's Suicide Squad. Yeah, it's Suicide
Yeah,
Squad.
I knew he was
haven't
gonna
seen
say
Birds
that.
of Prey. It would probably be that
That's
one.
the worst one. Yeah.
No, it's better. It's better than Suicide Squad.
No way.
Is it? Then I'm interested.
It's better than Suicide Squad.
Wow.
Color Mark intrigued.
Was it better than the Birds of Prey TV series?
I didn't watch that.
All right, we're gonna take one more break. When we come back, we'll give our final thoughts on the DC extended universe, maybe what we'd like to see, and we're gonna get into some fan reviews and comments on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show. Welcome back. One final segment here on the Best Damn Nerd Show as we are wrapping up our DC EU talk, and look, we could talk a lot longer about each movie individually, but we're gonna save it to pick it up for another time as we have already gone far too long. But you all have been enjoying some nerd gold here. But last thing on that track before we get into our wrap up tonight, what do you want to see from the DC EU? Do you want to see the multiverse ideal come about? What are you hoping for? What are you hoping for with this Robert Pattinson Batman? I know what I'm hoping for, and that's the rumor that came out that Michael Keaton could be returning to the role for some type of older Batman type deal. I don't know if that would be in Flashpoint or there's other rumors about being for a Batgirl movie, but Michael Keaton being Batman once again, something I never thought that I would see, and I'm fully on board for it. But Mark, what do you want to see?
I would love for them to finally bring back Green Lantern. Beyond that, I would really love to see some more like time travel things brought in, where it's Flashpoint would be awesome. But Booster Gold on screen, I think would be amazing. Green Arrow, I don't think there's any reason why you couldn't do a Green Arrow, especially after the success you had with Arrow and the conclusion of Oliver Queen in the Arrowverse and setting up again the different universes. That character could easily translate up into a feature film. I mean, he is a prominent character of the Justice League for many years. His whole ensemble behind there with Roy Harper, of course, is one of my favorites. I'd love to see The Question. I think it would be awesome to see The Question done into a film. I think would be really cool is even if they did a like a serialized show of the series 52, which was this. It was 52 issues. It was like a one issue a week release for a full year, and it took place in this where it's this year that the Trinity disappeared: Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. So it's all these other heroes having to kind of rise up to take care of the world, and a big story beat in it, not just with Booster Gold, but also with The Question, is where Renee Montoya assumes the role of The Question. She's kind of being shepherded by Vic the whole way through. Would be really well done in like a TV series. So I know it's not quite DCEU, but if we're putting stuff on film, I think that could be a really cool serial to dive into.
John, what do you want to see?
Just more Batman. Yeah, that's it. I don't really care about any other stuff, you know. I mean, I do.
Want a series of Joker films.
But to me, Batman is the most interesting character in there. Like, I could see a Batman movie every other year and be totally happy with it, and have them play it every different way. And yeah, I don't know. I'm easygoing in that way. Like, I don't need it to always be the same like representation of the character. I think it'd be interesting to see older Batman. It'd be interesting to see, you know, different parts of his career, if you will.
Like a Batman Beyond movie.
Yeah,
Batman Beyond is awesome.
Batman
Death
Beyond
in
would
the
be
Family
interesting.
finally put a Jason Todd on film.
Well, Scott Snyder killed Dick Grayson, so we might be changing that up. Jeff, what do you want to see?
Well, I mean, it's not officially Dick Grayson yet. That's just what he's saying. So we'll see what happens in the future.
What did I say? Scott Snyder.
Oh,
my
you
bad.
said
my,
Scott.
My sincere apologies to Scott Snyder, Zack Snyder. Scott Snyder does good Batman stuff.
Hey,
Scott
well, he
Snyder
also
killed
does
Bruce
evil
Wayne.
baby Batman
Hey,
stuff
you know
too.
what, evil baby Batman?
I'd like to see Nightwing. I'd like to see more of the Superman we got in the Justice League. I'd like to see. I kind of do want to see the multiverse. I hope Ben Affleck comes back as Batman as well.
Yeah.
I
think the multiverse is a good call.
And if they do Flashpoint Paradox, then I want to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne Batman.
I would love to see that. I think the Flashpoint Paradox animated movie is so good.
It's super awesome.
I would love to see them hit those same beats and pull it off in the same way in a live action movie. Again, Emperor Aquaman sounds really awesome to me. It would be cool to see if they could pull it off. I think overall the multiverse, it's a new take on what the superhero movies could do because it's connected, but you can still do your own thing with it. So it's a leg up in that regard creatively. And it's true to what comics, devolve into quite a bit, with different continuities and everything like that. You could do maybe some Elseworld stuff if it lasts. I would like to see just a continuing on. Like, I would love to see Ben Affleck come back and be Batman. I want, just stability there, especially with that character, that we can just keep making those, explore some different villains of his, like Clayface or what have you, where we don't have to get into the same cycle of Batman villains that we've necessarily already gotten. Davis, what do you want to see?
Just something that nobody's hit on yet, because I'd love to see Nightwing, I'd love to see Flashpoint, but Justice League Dark has been in production hell forever, and I'd love to see either films that lead up, all those character films that lead up to that, or just a couple that lead up to that. Like another Constantine movie, a Swamp Thing movie, and then maybe do Justice League Dark. But I would love. Yeah, Well,
maybe she doesn't get her own movie though. Maybe she's introduced in the.
I think you could handle.
So it's fine for Aquaman. It's not all right for Zatanna. Shut up,
Mark.
You can handle her like Wonder Woman. So, but yeah, I think that would be a fun run that they could just do on the side. It could be a different universe, in this thing. I think that'd be very cool.
All right, let's get into some fan comments before we close it out this evening. I got some iTunes reviews I want to hit on here, and this is, let me see here. This comes to us from Sentimental in San Francisco, so in the Bay Area. Return of the Kings. I am so stoked on my favorite nerds being back. Wow, so much content to start with too, and it sounds like they haven't missed a beat. I can't believe even Tim came back. Only thing left is for their old financier Adam to come back and make them watch some truly horrible movies. LOL, still saying it loud and proud.
We finally bought the rights off of Adam, so now we don't need to have him on the show.
We're yeah, exactly. You never know. Again, true evil can never die. So this one is The Boys Are Back. This comes to us from Mito. Boss of the Kokori. Sorry, I butchered that. Listen to these guys back when they were on college radio. They haven't lost a step. These takes are so hot, you better wear some mithril gloves when handling them. Very funny group of friends who have passion for many things that are listed under the umbrella of nerd culture. With the wide range of topics these guys cover, there's literally something for everyone, something for everybody. I'll have to check out their Discord after they mention it in one of the episodes. That is bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord. And if you want to get these episodes early, as well as a slew of other just awesome Tenno Media content, go to patreon.com/Tenno Media and support us and other just really awesome artists and podcasters that we have going on there. But those are the positives. We created a little bit of a stir with our Comic-Con at Home recap regarding one Nathan Fillion. Some of his stands, I guess, are what the cool kids call him now. Some people were not happy with how some of us reacted to Nathan Fillion. John, I'll let you take it from there.
First of all, summarize what you guys said about Nathan Fillion that kind of sparked this off, and then I'll get into kind of like how this has played out.
Jeff, I'll let you handle that. And
all right, Nathan Fillion, like as far as his work goes, I'm a big fan, but the person himself is an asshat. and he's just like. And he's just like really full of himself, and that's how he comes across in all interviews and things like that. And if he's breeding a bunch of sycophant fans, then I totally understand why. They're the problem. Whatever we're about to read, they're the problem.
I mean,
And
I'll
so
be honest with you. I don't think it's just them though. Like, I personally didn't. I thought Serenity was trash, and honestly, I wasn't that impressed by Firefly either. So to hell with all of the fans and all of his work. But to get into the comments.
Well, hold on.
But Castle was good. Castle.
But Firefly
You got Castle.
is good.
Oh my god.
Nathan has
It's
done
not
great
John.
work,
It
and I don't
was
think we have to
good.
rehash this whole argument
It
again.
was good decades ago, ancient history at this point. And how long did it last? 4 episodes. It's a goddamn mini.
Oh wow!
It was like 10 or
Firefly
13.
and Serenity are both good.
Didn't even get a full
They're
run.
both very enjoyable. And look, I'm not the most diehard like brown coder that can't let it go, but Firefly was a very good show, and Serenity was a good
dude,
movie.
It was a
Back
good
in the day,
show.
it
It
was-
was not a very good show.
No.
It was a good show.
It was good. It was,
I
but that was
thoroughly
back in
enjoyed
the day when a great concept could carry you. But like the actual show itself was super boring. Like
oh my god, disagree.
done now, I think that show could be great in different hands and with a different star. But
All right, let's get to the comments.
so
I don't
of course,
agree with these things.
So of course,
John-
Mark wants to wash
Look.
his hands of it.
look,
Mark, sorry, you're in with the good and the bad. You're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, my friend.
So to give people some insight into how the sausage is made here, like we record our episodes, and then each part of the episodes the work is split up in different ways among the different hosts here. One of the things I've been doing is like cutting stuff up and putting it on YouTube, and so I got a little. I was feeling inspired by your guys' takes on the Comic-Con episode, so definitely went a little clickbaity on the titles with some of them. So a little bit, yeah. So
That's true.
The title of
That happened.
The title of the segment
It
where you
happened.
guys rip on Nathan Fillion, I titled "Nathan Fillion is the worst," and then I posted, and then I took that video and I posted it in the Firefly subreddit. So just to tease out some of the worst of the worst, some of the drudges of sci-fi fandom. And so here's one of them. This commenter, I won't read the names, but you guys can go find them yourself. This comment says, "You guys need a life like for real. Probably some ugly ass geeks living in their mom's basement wishing they were Nathan Fillion. You're mad because he is the perfect famous, and you have a little talk show that sucks ass." And then the middle finger emoji.
They hate him because they hate him. That's what I take away from that one.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
Hey, and I'll have him know only one of us records from our parents' house. Okay.
That's true.
Dude, how sad is it that Pissant Firefly has a subreddit that's active after all these years, and Richard Hatch alone had to fucking bear the standard of Battlestar Galactica? Is there really a comparison between those two properties?
I know.
Jesus
Depressing.
Christ.
So the next commenter, he wrote, nothing too crazy. His comment was, "This is some real
Fuck
bullshit."
you.
He wrote,
That's a good one.
No, he wrote,
Wait,
this is some real bullshit. But I'm a troll, as you guys have experienced if you've listened to this full episode. So as the Best Damn Nerd Show, my response was to this comment, which is, "This is some real bullshit." My response was, "Just like Nathan Fillion's career."
Oh my! Wait, I didn't realize this is news to me. I didn't realize you were responding to these people.
Oh yeah, I'm responding.
John's in
Yes,
the
he is.
trenches. He's keeping it real.
Oh my!
Dude, you're not gonna
God.
come to our channel and write some shit and not get some shit back. Like, this is how.
Wait,
it
well,
goes.
didn't you go to their subreddit though?
Yeah.
Just
No, it was
invite
an
yourself in.
offensive move.
no.
So
Invited
then
yourself in and just starting fires. Holy
yeah.
shit!
So then they responded, "The Rookie is a fantastic show. Castle is a top 10 show of all time. Firefly is legendary status. Con Men is one of the funniest indie productions I've ever seen, and Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog is pure genius. Nathan Fillion is a genuinely nice person who loves his fan base and will go out of his way for them. You're not making any sense at all. I'm not even sure you know who Nathan Fillion even is, or you're just really bad at trolling."
Well, which is it? Well, you definitely know who Nathan Fillion is.
They called Castle a top 10 show. That's all you need to know. That conversation's over.
I like Castle, but it's a crime procedural. Like, there's 15 of them on like any night. I don't understand. Top 10 what? Top 10 greatest shows of all time? God.
Dr. Horrible.
And
Dr. Horrible.
No, it's not. Dr. Horrible is horrible. Shut up.
Captain Hammer.
And Mark is like, don't lump me in with the rest of them.
Yeah,
they don't like you either, Mark.
Mark, I promise to agree to go to the Dr. Horrible sing-along at next year's Comic-Con, only to have to then, unfortunately, bail on it like I've done every year. But I do enjoy Dr. Horrible. But
this is the type of fan that builds this guy up, though. And
yeah, exactly. Nathan Fillion reads that, and that's why he is what he is. Okay.
Well,
I've never seen The Rookie. I have zero desire to see it.
And so
gives a shit about old man rookie cop.
And so here's where this takes a turn. This is the last comment I'm going to read.
Okay.
Mostly because it was the last comment that was posted before we were banned from the Firefly subreddit permanently. But just on our main account.
I know that game.
What if we want to talk Firefly someday?
Just
start your own subreddit. Or start your own account. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just on the main show account. Don't worry about it. But this is where I started to suspect that all of these comments have actually been Nathan Fillion burner accounts the whole time. So
true.
Hear him out.
This is what the comment says. And I'm not making this up. This is what it says. Right. That's why it's so infuriating. One of those guys especially sounds like an old school Cheetos covered, toga wearing, pizza guzzling moron from old college movies. So
that could be any of us, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I need clarification. Who is it?
I mean, because I am a gatekeeper.
Well, it's John now, because he's really pissing him off.
Yeah, I'm going to get the full fury of it.
I hope they say it's Mark.
Oh my
God.
No.
So does this video, when you clip it, are you going to like post that Nathan Fillion is the best? And then
No, I'm doubling down, dude. I haven't come up with the clickbait.
It could be like the top reasons why Nathan Fillion's the best, or why we love Nathan Fillion fans.
No. Actually, okay. So the last video was called Nathan Fillion is the worst. I'm gonna call this one Nathan Fillion's fans are the worst.
Oh my god!
But you're not wrong.
The thing is, we're banned from the Firefly subreddit, so I'm gonna have to post this one in the Castle subreddit.
We'll have to make a whole new account.
Because the Rookie is such trash that doesn't even have a subreddit.
Watch out, man! That's a top 10 show. They're gonna come after you.
All time, dude.
All time. Man. That's a bold statement.
Well, I'm just, I'm glad that we're getting.
Only Nathan would make that statement. I think John's right.
Nathan's mother.
There was a moment like a day or two before this comment storm happened where I was reading comments that Davis was posting on the YouTube to people, and like Davis, like people would post like they would shit post our videos, and Davis's response would be like, do you have any like constructive criticism? Like, we're always looking for feedback. Like he's like leaning into like being nice and like trying to
Davis doing some good PR.
And I made note of it, and Davis is like, well, I've spent years in customer service, so like, I'm really trying to appease people, and
turn them into fans.
It's so like it's just so cute. You know what I mean? Like it's just so like naive and cute to think that like YouTube commenters of all people in the world, people who comment on YouTube videos are going to be the ones that you're going to have like a civil discourse with and like learn something from about how to make videos or make podcasts. Like, come on.
And he only responded with a video to a podcast or a radio show that is very well financed on RedLetterMedia. Yeah. And I'm like,
oh, dude, yeah, RedLetterMedia. Come on.
I'm like, come on, man.
I mean, yeah, shit. Maybe that's the goal, but fuck.
Yeah. Well,
they put a lot of effort into it, though, too.
I give John an A+ for trolling, even though I maybe don't agree with the sentiment. I love the reaction that it generated. I think it's hilarious that the show account got. I didn't realize that we had been banned from the subreddit. That's incredible.
Oh, well, that's not hard to do.
Nathan Fillion is a mod there, and he clearly didn't like our video. So.
Nathan Fillion might just be the only one in that subreddit, which actually makes a lot more sense.
I think the end
once
game,
you say it out loud.
I think the end game is that we have a genuine feud with Nathan Fillion at some point, And then we, unbeknownst to all of us, we are invited to host a panel. He ends up being on the panel, and then he confronts us about it in front of some live convention that we're hosting a panel for. That
I
to
would
me
like-
is the best route of how this plays out.
The best route for Nathan Fillion would be to apologize publicly to us for his shit fans.
Yeah, we feel very attacked and
Yeah,
harassed. We were
and it
banned
should
the
come from
subreddit.
him,
Yes,
just like all of
That's
these
fault,
sycophant comments probably have.
that's fair. I do want, as we close now, and I look
Fuck
forward-
Firefly.
I enjoyed it, but I do look forward to following up to see what happens next with this just random ass flaming of Nathan Fillion. But it has been really cool, the continued discourse with the listeners in Discord.
It has.
People like Justin, the Gay Florida Nerd, and Red Panda interacting with us. It's just it's really cool. So check us out on Discord if you want. We won't ban you if you like Nathan Fillion, because Mark and I are still on the show. And so
Yeah, Nathan, feel free to join our Discord.
Yes, it's bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord. Once again, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/tennomedia, if you're enjoying what you're hearing. And just have to, Davis, keep it in with your family. A special shout out to your cousin who is in recovery from a little surgery right now. So hopefully this episode helps as you are on the mend. And I hope you all enjoyed our dive into the DCEU. I'm sure we will be talking more about it in the coming episodes. The Wonder Woman sequel's on the way. A lot of cool stuff coming down the pike for DC. So we will revisit it then. But until then, have a great week, everyone. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud.
I hope your cousin isn't a Nathan Fillion fan, Chris.
Supernatural fan.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good show. Or was.
Yeah.